Afadhali mzee ambaye ni mtulivu, ambaye hana haja ya kujaza mifuko yake, ambaye atachunga masilahi ya watu yake, badala ya mdomo tamtamu 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 tamtamu. Lakini akiingia ni wale wa kufanya moja yako, nusu ya mwananchi, mbili yako na tano yangu. Na mnawajua nyinyi
kutafuta uongozi kwa kutumia dini au kutumia kabila, unagawa watu. Kazi ya uongozi ni kujenga watu wawe kitu kimoja.
The 2.2 billion has been spent in the office of the president and state house between July and September. If you do that calculation, it means that we spend in that office 23 million per day and 1 million per hour. That cannot be sustainable.
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunakaa kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako.
Nasikia watu wanasema baba ametusaliti. Between baba kutusaliti na sisi kusaliti baba, nani amesaliti mwingine?
Inapeangwa, it mostly goes to foreign ministries. So baba is overqualified for that position.
To build this railways for Africa. So now he's thinking about tumemkataa kama baba wetu.
Unaweza kuwa kuna mtoto ulizaa, ukapatia nchi, ikuwe inamfanya vile inataka.
Uhuru has been working very hard. Ruto akaenda huko na nguvu. Ruto was never invited in the inauguration.
Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye Sound Candid Talk.
Open Forum Political Discussion Show. The show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development.
Tukutane Sound Candid Talk.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are glad you're watching. Thank you so much for choosing to be part and parcel of the great conversation on Sound Candid Talk. We appreciate each one of you for tuning in and, of course, being an extension of what we are doing right here, right where you are. Therefore, let's be on the forefront to invite as many as possible to join into this conversation where we are seeking a better Kenya from the current state of affairs. Well, mbiu ya mgambo ikilia kuna jambo. The office of the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, has said they cannot hold their peace any longer. What's happening is unacceptable. It's a shame to this country, and of course, emanating from the irresponsible leadership of William Ruto and how he goes about this country. I don't know whether we stop being patriotic and nationalistic in our upholding of our state officers. What is this that William Ruto and State House are frustrating the office of the former President Uhuru Kenyatta? Now, we know the acrimony that preceded the ascension to power by William Ruto, and of course, that notwithstanding, there is how things should be done. It doesn't matter how much difference we have personally, but when it comes to office matters, professionalism is called upon. It is now being alleged that the budgeting for the office of the former president only takes place in parliament, but when it comes to its implementation, only God knows where the money goes. The office of the former president has openly denied not only being underfunded, but the funding that is reflected in the budget never released to his office. Car allocations, his staff members, it is being said now Uhuru Kenyatta pays his staff members from his personal funds. And of course, he has to make his own arrangement of transportation and other things. During the inauguration of the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, we saw Uhuru Kenyatta arriving in the plane of Uganda, having been given a lift by the vice president of Yoweri Museveni. Now, it looked like probably it was, just a by the way. But from the look of things, it now removes every doubt that William Ruto is not rising up to be a statesman and being patriotic in honoring those that have gone ahead of him. It is being also alleged that the staff members and the security details of the first form of the first lady, the first lady, I could call it that, Mama Ngina Kenyatta, is also on her own. The government has withdrawn all the fundings, including fueling of her cars and all that. I don't know why all this is coming up, because it is very embarrassing to talk about it to start with. And not only that, we are not used to this kind of conversations. And we have had a series of retired presidents. Everything was being done professionally, quietly. The public was never involved in all this. So what is this with William Ruto that he wants now demonstrations before the funding for Uhuru Kenyatta's office is released? I invite your input even as we start the conversation. And then, of course, the info track release of the performance of William Ruto and Gachagua, or both of them are D students. In their performance, they see they had cooked for the other term, or rather the other period, as in failed. So in treating the public and handling the issues to the running of the affairs of this country, they are D student. And that can tell you what is cooking in our country and why that is happening. Well, the finance bill, the curtains were brought down on it today on public participation. Kenyans are a worried lot about what is it that is going to become of this country with this kind of minds and this kind of measures that are not helping the growth of the economy or relieving the pain of the Kenyan people. I call upon each one of you, let's be on the forefront. Tukaribishane, tumakinike. Tuko live YouTube channel, Sound Candid Talk. Sound Candid Talk live YouTube channel, Sound Candid Talk Facebook page. 2 people are viewing from Facebook. Let's increase X. We are also Sound Candid Talk as well as TikTok. Thank you those joining on TikTok. Please, let's like the video, share the live, and then of course participate. Somebody requested yesterday to join the show. For you to join the show from TikTok, you use the YouTube link. The YouTube link is right at the bio. You click on it, it will take you to the YouTube channel where the Kenyans are congregating to participate into the discussion. In the meantime, you can only chat on TikTok and leave your point, and we'll be able to sample some of them in the course of the conversation. Thank you so much. Karibu kila mmoja, naomba tumakinike, tukaribishane na tujifunze mengi mazuri tu yanayotokana na vile Wakenya wanaona mambo jinsi yanavyoenda, lakini William Ruto na timu yake wanaudhi sana. Sijui ni kipi ambacho watafanyiwa, lakini lazima Wakenya wajikomboe kutokana na uongozi mbaya wa aina hii. So karibu kila mmoja, tumakinike. Tuanze na hiyo hadithi, hiyo video, alafu baadaye tutakuwa tunajiunga na wengi wetu tu ambao wangependa kuchangia masuala haya. So kina Wangira, kina Innocent na wote ambao mnahusika, link ya kutumia kuingia studio nishaweka kwa comment section. Tafadhali tumakinike. Haya, namkaribisha Charles Green, karibu kwa show. Esther Stoll, karibu kwa show. Dahi Abdi, karibu kwa show. Tuni Mhamud, karibu kwa show. Asante sana kwa kuwai. Freedom, karibu kwa show. Asante sana kwa kufika. Nashukuru. Travel with Fred, thank you so much. Na same thank you so much. Karibu kwa show. Travel with Fred. Nani mwingine, mzee wetu wa nguvu, Michael Ngige, karibu kwa show. Asante kwa kuwai. William Adilo, karibu kwa show. Kuna Vet Joshua Ouma, karibu kwa show. Asante kwa kuwai. Salome Amashibo, karibu kwa show. Eric Owen, karibu kwa show. Thank you so much for being here. I salute each one of you and appreciate every one of you for your continued followership and support. Please, let's like the video. Let's share the live. Make sure that as many people as possible join. And if you're not yet a subscriber, this is the good time for you to subscribe to Sound Candid Talk and be part of the family. Thank you so much. Namuona nani huyu, Timothy Cheboy. Aya, karibu kwa show nawe. Naomba tafadhali tumakinike tunapochambua masuala haya, tuambiane ukweli. Ni kipi hiki ambacho kinasumbua William Ruto asiishi kwa amani na former president? Kipi hiki ambacho Uhuru Kenyatta alimnyima William Ruto hivi kwamba hata baada ya yeye kupewa mamlaka, kupewa nchi nzima, bado anafuatana na Uhuru Kenyatta na mamake Uhuru Kenyatta, licha ya kuwa hao ni watu ambao washatumika wakamaliza kazi zao, wako katika miaka yao ya kustaafu. It is the law that stipulates that they should be taken care of. Why is it a big deal for William Ruto to honor the law and just do what is required to do? What does he gain by frustrating Uhuru Kenyatta and Mama Ngina Kenyatta? Let's talk about this even as we start this conversation. Here is the first video. Karibu kila moja, tumakinike.
Then I would like to confirm also that the office confirms that the former president was indeed allocated vehicles for his personal use, and that is 2 Toyota Land Cruisers, like stated in the statement, 1 Mercedes-Benz, and 1 Range Rover that is in use by the former First Lady, Mama Margaret Kenyatta. The 4 Toyota Prados that have been mentioned are in use as follows. 3 are used by the security detail that was given to the president, the former president, and 1 Toyota Prado that is being used by the office, as well as 1 Subaru Forester. Now, what the government spokesperson did not clarify is that the vehicles allocated to the former president for personal use were not new. They were in fact the cars that were part of his motorcade when he left Kasarani during the inauguration ceremony. And this was agreed upon by State House, that the former president uses these vehicles on transitional basis as they begin the process of procuring new vehicles as stipulated in the Presidential Benefits Act. That is 2 new vehicles of the retired president's choice, replaceable every 3 years, and each car having an engine capacity not exceeding 3,000 cc's. are two four-wheel motor drive vehicles of the retired president's choice, also replaceable every 3 years, each vehicle having an engine capacity of 3,000 to 4,000 cc's. Just a point of note as well, the late President Daniel Arap Moi and the late President Mwai Kibaki were allocated and maintained more than double the number of vehicles that have been allocated to the third retired president to ensure optimum running of his office. There were fuel cards that were issued, and the fuel cards were given, as well as the maintenance of the vehicles, but that has not been done because the cards were blocked in the month of March 2023 to date, that is. I'll take that again. The fuel cards were given, however, they were cancelled and blocked by State House since March 2023 to date. There have been reports.
Mambo ni kama hayo. Huyo ndiye msemaji wa ofisi ya rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta akipeana hali ilivyo katika hiyo ofisi na jinsi wanavyofanya kazi, kwamba magari ambayo Uhuru Kenyatta anatumia ama yale ambayo State House inadai kwamba imepeana kwa Uhuru Kenyatta ni yale makuukuu ambayo Uhuru Kenyatta alitoka nayo kwa ofisi, na mengi ya hayo yanatumika na watu wa security, tena wa ile kadi ambayo wanapaswa kutumia kuweka mafuta na bili iendee serikali. Hizo kadi ziko cancelled kutoka March 2023. Inamaanisha kwa mwaka mzima plus Uhuru amekuwa akifuel gari yake kivyake, yani State House inafanya ya kwake. Okay, tusikilize na State House nayo inasemaje kwa mambo haya, alafu namkaribisha wote ambao mnajiunga nasi, tafadhali tumakinike, tuingie studio mapema. Sitaki kuketi hapa muda mrefu. Sound Candid Talk tunafanya vizuri, naomba tafadhali tumakinike. Tuko 37 people, 42 people, and then of course the poll question pia I want you to be to participate in it. Piga kura yako, lakini kabla upige kura hakikisha kwamba unafanya nini? Una like video, respond to the video, and if you don't like the conversation you can also dislike the video. Whatever response is invited, we just want you to react when the video is important, and it helps us a great deal. We also encourage you, if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. If you are not a member of Sound Candid Talk, that is one way of supporting us. Join today and be the member of the day. We require to have at least 1% joining in every one of these live talk shows. Now, let's see how State House responds to all these allegations by the spokesman of the former president. And you will weigh between the two and tell me what is going on right now.
Now, hours after former President Uhuru Kenyatta's Director of Communications, Candid, spoke of his frustration at the hands of President William Ruto's officers, State House spokesperson, government spokesperson Isaac Mora released a statement denying a breach of the Presidential Retirement Benefits Act. Instead, he accused the former president's office of making unreasonable demands. In the statement, he put the number of vehicles at the former president's disposal at 14, maintaining that they are in good working order and include, here we have them, 2 Range Rovers Sport. We also have a Range Rover Autobiography listed there, as well as a Mercedes S600L, which he says were procured between 2020 and 2022, and which he says therefore are befitting of a retired president. What he says the office of the retired president has requested would cost a staggering 140 million shillings, being a Range Rover Vogue First Edition. He puts the cost at 51.3 million shillings. A Mercedes-Benz S500, which he says would cost 66.4 million shillings. A Toyota Land Cruiser valued at 22.5 million shillings, and a Toyota Fortuner, which is valued at 10.6 million shillings. Then there is also the question of an official office. And this is what the government spokesman had to say on the subject. By rejecting this office, and that is the Nyari office, and preferring that the government leases his own private home, the third retired president is inviting the government to violate procurement law, regulations and procedures. The statement continues to read, the third retired president wants to be both a landlord and a tenant at the same time. It is an adventure that the government cannot engage in, as this is a serious conflict of interest. It is not only the official office that has been in dispute. This is what he had to say on the contract renewal for Kanze Dena as well as George Kariuki. And he says their names have not been forwarded to the State House Comptroller by the retired president for processing. So he denies that they have been frustrating the office of the former president in that regard. As for the budget, this is what he had to say, and this is the budget appropriations that Kanze Dena said the office of the former president has not fully absorbed, putting the figure that they know could have been spent at about 28 million out of a possible 1 billion shillings, over 1 billion shillings. The comptroller originates the budget and defends it in Parliament. There was therefore no compelling obligation to seek concurrence on the budget with the office of the retired president. And in addition to that, he did speak on facilitation for foreign trips. On footing the bill for the former president's foreign trips, Mora states that the government is only obligated to foot the bill for 4 trips and for a maximum of 14 days. And with us in studio, shortly we'll be hearing from her, is the Director of Communication for the office of the former president, and that is retired President Uhuru Kenyatta. Among the issues we're looking to engage her on are the issue of conflict of interest, as highlighted by Isaac Mora. There's also the several other questions as regards what they say is they did not suspend access to fuel. They can fuel at State House. So a response, lots of issues.
Haya mambo ni kama hayo, vuta ni kuvute kati ya Uhuru Kenyatta na William Ruto na jinsi wanavyotekeleza masuala haya. Mimi sijui wewe unaonaje mambo haya, ningependa kusikia maoni yako. Ingia studio ukaseme ya kwako, lakini kwangu mimi hii inaudhi, inaaibisha, it's terrible. It's terrible. And I don't understand why it should come to this. I mean, for it to come out in public, number one. Number two, why should you frustrate somebody who is in office? And of course, he has served his term, is entitled. The law has stipulated how it should be handled, and you begin to play politics with it. Because from what you see, Isaac Mwaura there, the government spokesman giving, it leaves a lot to be desired. It leaves a lot to be desired. And it is clear that he wants to cast wherever or paint Uhuru Kenyatta in bad light. If you hire my house for government services and I have rented you my house, paying me rent, whether I'm landlord and tenant, that is not the issue. The issue is the former president entitled to an office? Is he supposed to occupy the office he desires? Or the government should appoint for him the office? Or is there an office that is allocated to former president that they should recycle when somebody leaves, the other one takes? So all those things need to come at play. But from what I'm hearing and seeing, it's not encouraging at all. It is creating confusion unnecessarily, and I don't see where this should be a problem at all to start with, because there is what is called the transition committee. The transition committee, when the general election has been gone through, and then now the new person is supposed to hold office. This transition committee, it works out everything. The person who's leaving office and the person who's coming into office. And then, of course, the law has how the person who has left office is going to be handled. So why should this come to public and begin to be we begin to play in the gallery when it is clear in the law? So is it personal? Is it that we just like to embarrass ourselves? Because this is embarrassing, very embarrassing. And now I'm happy to see Reverend Lala. I see Njiru. I want us to start that conversation on that note. And of course, I invite everybody, please, hakikisha unakaribisha mtu, hakikisha una like video na unapiga kura yako. Mimi nataka hapa tunatafuta ukweli, na licha ya ukweli tunataka haki, na haki ifanyiwe kila mtu. Hii masuala ya former president kuwa frustrated na kwa sababu haupendwi. Kuna vitu ambavyo unafanyia watu sio lazima wapende na sio lazima wakupendeze. Ni sheria imesema na ni haki yao, kwa sababu washatumika wakamaliza kazi yao, na then they are entitled to those benefits. Why are we denying them those benefits? And of course, with the performance of William Ruto at D, it's like William Ruto is failing to do everything. He can't feed students, children for school. Na kukaribisha, tafadhali makinika. Let's hear Reverend Lala on this, and then Njiru. Na wengine ambao mnakuja, tafadhali njooni mbio mbio. Hatutakaa sana, nataka tumalize mbio mbio, lakini tumalize hadithi yote kabisa kabisa. Reverend Lala, karibu. How are you today?
Asante Bernard. Njiru, can't even, your new name is what? DJT. I don't know what that D stands for, but that's Dr. Njiru now. It's good to to see him there, and plus all of you. For me, what I see is very silly. Yani ni ujinga mwingi. Lakini they are what we call issues those are decoys that are thrown so that we don't focus on the weighty issues. And today I wanted to start by pointing fingers at the enablers of Ruto. Okay, those who enables him to nyanyasha, ili tunanyazwe kabisa, and they are just as evil as Ruto himself, because they are the fuel that this man uses to destroy us. So here is a case where the president who was retired, President Uhuru, he still carried that title. Okay, he carried that title for a reason. We want him as a symbol of our past, our inheritance, where we are coming from. It's just as important, if not more important than even the current president, because he is our history, one that we draw from. So we protect him. He has the secret of our nation. Is our history, okay? Because as with that, kama una historia, we ni mtumwa tu. So for him to be treated this way, we know Uhuru can do without these guys. He'll be fine. But for the sake of the Constitution, for the sake of the unity, for the sake of running a state and a country, we need him to be protected, be provided for, not to loot, because he cannot loot, but the responsibility of the present government is to take care of the past, the present, and help us project towards the future. When Chinese and others are thinking of the next 100 years, they are sitting on their history. They want to, their 1,000 history, they don't want that to die. They feel like they're being entrusted with the past to give it to the future. There's a continuity of thinking. And Ruto is here telling us very irrational, very crazy ideas that is projecting, which we don't even understand, when already we are trying to establish a nation. A nation is not just born today. A nation has to have a history. And that history was given to Uhuru, and Uhuru carries it. And therefore, we got to protect him, provide for this office. And so to hear that at the gas, magari haikupewa, petroli, it's like telling us that, in America, we have what we call junkyards. If you're looking for vehicles that have been used in the past, they are junkyard. Animals live there. It's a terrible place. Okay? They have these dogs that watches junkyard. When you hear the junkyard, it's Sanford and Son. I think in Kenya we used to watch this. There's a junkyard. Okay, so they're asking Uhuru to have vehicles packed in his home without gas, a junkyard, and when he has to go somewhere, he has to go to protection, because you see, his escort require to travel with him. So what they're telling Uhuru is that you're a dead man. Stay at home and die. We have got no use for you. When actually the wisdom of our constitution gave him a function, gave him an office, gave him something to help him to move around so that he can meet the people and do the job that is required to give us our history. That's what you see in the US. Most of these politicians, when they leave office, they are back to universities, they are professors, they're teaching. Nearly all of them, because they have such an important information to pass on to the younger generation so that we can continue that continuity of our history. So this man, I don't know whether he knows what he's doing if he ever went to school, because if you got a PhD, there's supposed to be a continuity. You got that information that you're supposed to pass on. There's a history to it. So it doesn't make sense to me. I consider myself a public intellectual. I use what I have to educate the common man. And what this man is doing is just wrong. It's actually a crime against the state. Thank you.
Asante sana Bwana Lala for that opening remarks. Kenyans, let's engage, ensure that you are part and parcel of the conversation, and please let's seek what is just. We must make this country work, and it has to work according to the law. Those who want to turn it into a banana republic should be stopped. And the Kenyans, that responsibility rests on your shoulder. Asante sana kwa wote ambao mna like video na mnaendelea kukaribisha mtu. Tafadhali usitazame kipindi peke yako, makinika. Tumsikilize Njiru naye. Njiru, karibu, lakini kumbuka, umeona vile mkururo ni mrefu.
Wewe bwana, mbona unataka kunipimia hewa hivyo hata kama uko na tai?
Chunga saa.
Haya ni sawa, nitachunga saa. Leo nitaongea tu mambo mawili. Number one, na nimewasalimia wote. These days mimi nimesema nitakuwa naongea na summary. Number one, ukiona kitu inatendekea mtu, hata wewe inaweza kutendekea. That is one thing, Bernard, we always tell people and they don't they think. Bernard, ukisikia pahali fulani watu wanapigiwa ngeta, ama kuna kitu mbaya inatendekea hapo, sanya watu muende muone ni nini kinatendekeanga hapo. Look for ways in which you can fight that criminality. otherwise your wife can be a victim there, ama kitu fulani itatendeka hapo. So these things started in 2021 or 2020 when it was even said that kuna mtu alikuwa anataka kupiga mwingine makofi, and we could see how things were happening around the way, and we were thinking that these things were jokes, lakini kuna vitu zilikuwa zinatendeka ndani. Kuna vitu tunaitanga mchezo ndani ya mchezo, a play inside a play. Unajua sasa saa zingine unaweza kuwa unaona hii mchezo unaona sahihi, lakini uone ile ingine, and in politics kuna kuanga na a play inside a play. So the play inside a play ni ya kwamba Mr. Ruto alikuwa ameteka nyara kila kitu. Sasa sisi tunaona tu huyu mtu wako na wanajeshi sijui nini anafanya hivi, but the play inside the play, hiyo mambo ishakwenda. Anyway, away from that. So, and this is what Kenyans do not understand, Bwana Bernard, ya kwamba Wakenya wanaona Ruto anatesa Uhuru na wanafikiria hiyo tu ni vita ya wakubwa. Now the same thing ambayo Ruto alikuwa anafanya ya kutesa kina Uhuru, it now came to us. Tunanyolewa bila maji. Ndio sisi finance bill tunataka kuangushiwa. And can you imagine, Bwana Bernard, and these are things I want to speak here, because I think as Kenyans, we are behaving as if we don't use brains. Can you imagine somebody want to task us na atuulizi? Unajua, na vitu zingine tu smile hapa. For your information, let me tell you, even Lala, he knows how the American concept works. Hakuna mtu, every time at finance bill, every time finance bill. Hata Marekani sijasikia kila saa finance bill. Yani Kenya lazima tukae tukifikiria hawa watu watalipishwa kodi na mnagani nini jaribu. So things are not working. So what I'm trying to say is that hivi tunaona Uhuru anafanyiwa. And I want to proclaim again, Bernard. Hii kitu inakuonesha Ruto akiendelea kukaa hapo ni hatari sana. Imagine now he is doing what he is doing to Uhuru. What will prevent him from endangering the life of citizens? And you know, hizi vitu anafanyia Uhuru hivyo, it is not about that in favor anamfanyia. Huyu mtu asha spend miaka 10 kwa power and he has retired. He deserves this money. Si ati anamsaidia ati anatoa kwa pochi yake. So what it is explaining here is, as Kenyans are laughing when Uhuru is committing, when Ruto is committing open criminality, hivyo ndivyo watanyolewa. And I don't mean my words. Ruto will commit bad things to Kenyans than what he's doing. He is a guy who doesn't have conscience. You can imagine. He can mistreat somebody who is protected by the Constitution. What about... Na unajua kuna vitu hatusikilizangi ama we don't talk here. And I want to explain them here. Last time, kuna wakati aliambia kijana sijui, unaniongelesha mimi kama nani. So, Bernard, in a short, we cannot rely on this guy. We cannot rely on this guy on anything. That is number one. Number two, I wanted to confirm news ya vile nilisema jana. For your information, many governments in Europe have collapsed. And I'm very happy of that. And so Bernard, tuendelee kuomba hizo maserikali zinaanguka, ziende zikianguka, tunaweza pona by indirect, tunaweza pona. Nimemalizia hapo.
Asante. Mungu anajibu maombi. So tuendelee kuomba. Asante. By the way, Malawi Vice President plane imepotea. Mbona ndege zingine zinapotea? Ndege zile zinapaswa kupotea azipotee. Ni nini kinaendelea? Bwana Saburi, vipi? Unmute, your mic is off.
Salama sana. Salama sana. Hamjambo?
Hatujambo. Karibu.
Ni wakati mwingine mufti sana nimejiunga na nyinyi kwa mara ya kwanza. Mwanzo kabisa wacha nianze kwa kumpa kongole kinara ambaye ameshikilia ushukani na kutuunganisha sisi wote. Pongezi sana na wacha Mwenyezi Mungu akubariki. Basi na kupoteza muda, ningependa kuja moja kwa moja mimi nipeane usia wangu ama vile ambavyo nahisi, how I'm feeling about the debate. Na kusema kweli mimi sijafurahishwa ama sijafurahia. Kuna maswali unajua Wakenya kuna ile dhana kwamba yani tumependa yani mtu unajua venye mambo yanapaswa kuenda, lakini tunajaribu yani tumezoea complain, yani we like complaining. In the first place, kwa nini retired president mwenye amekaa kwa office for more than 9 years to 10 years akuwe na ofisi? For what purpose? A retired president for what purpose? Point number 2, kwa nini atake kutembelea na magari yenye ni luxurious in this nation that is a developing nation? Hata si nchi yenye iko developed, just a developing nation, nchi ambayo juzi tumekuwa na mvua, mambo mingi yenye hatuna pesa given that ndio iko kwa constitution. Unajua Uhuru alikuwa kwa serikali na serikali yeye ndiye alikuwa kinara, yeye ndiye alikuwa kila kitu, na hii sasa serikali tuko ni ya Ruto. Hata kama iko kwa katiba, kuna yale masuala ambayo yanafikanga kikomo. Hakuna jambo alifikangi kikomo. Mheshimiwa Rais Kibaki alitunukiwa baada ya kumaliza kipindi chake cha miaka 10, akaenda nyumbani vizuri. Uhuru asije pia atake kuwa ni demand, I expect hiyo. Mtu akikuja kwako leo akufanyie kazi atake kuondoka, hawezi anza kurudi kukupea condition hata kama mlikuwa ni nini eti nataka hivi na hivi na hivi. Hapana. Saizi wabunge wakiamua waende bungeni wajadili hiyo kipengele, waseme retired president hafai kupewa hizi faida. Kwanza itakuwa ni furaha zaidi na ni kasi nyepesi kwa sisi wa Kenya, kwa sababu hizo pesa hata zikitolewa bado ni mtosha ushuru analipa hizo pesa, si pesa za Ruto ama za nani, ni za mtosha ushuru. Nikimaliza tena kwa ufupi sana, kuna hiki kitu tumekuwa tumeanza yani tumezoea kulia sijui Kenya we are overtaxed, we are overworked, we are overworked. The only problem I have with our our revenue collectors is that no accountability. Hizi pesa ambazo tunatoa hakuna, yani zinapotelea tu. Shida si kutoa si ushuru wala nini, shida ni ile njia hizi pesa wanazihandle, only that. Lakini kwa sasa mimi ya malalamisho wameleta sijui Uhuru hajapata nini, hiyo kitu kwanza inafaa kurudishwa bungeni ijadiliwe. Rais ukiwa kwa ofisi, ukimaliza mambo yako ya ofisi, kimbia nyumbani, kana wachukuu, pumzika. Mambo ya ofisi ya nini tena? Magari ya nini? Umehudumu kwa miaka 10, haufai kuja kuitisha kitu yoyote kabisa ambayo inakuja kumwadhiri mtoza ushuru wa kawaida. Hiyo tu ndio mimi nikasema.
Okay, maoni yako. Huyo anaitwa Saburi. Bwana Saburi, nakusikia,
Yes.
na kuelewa, lakini unanichanganya.
Yeah.
Okay? Kwa sababu
Niulize baba.
Kuna sijui nisemeje, kukuwa rais wa nchi, okay? Kuna vile ambavyo unawajibika na kuna mambo mengi ambayo umehusishwa nayo, ambayo moja first and foremost ni siri za serikali, okay?
Ndio.
Na kutolindwa baada ya kutoka kwa ofisi ni hatari kwa usalama wa nchi, ni hatari kwa usalama huyo mtu binafsi, tena ni ile tunasema nini, ile prestige yetu katika miongoni wa mataifa, okay? Like what Ruto is doing to Uhuru is embarrassing. It's not internationally acceptable. Kama kungekuwa na rais ambaye angedhalilishwa baada ya kutoka kwa ofisi ni Moi, okay? Moi alitolewa kwa ofisi, alitoka kwa ofisi katika mazingira ambayo ni mabaya sana, okay? Akaingia kwa ofisi wherever Kibaki comes in from the opposition, and after a long stretch of war, and then the NAC government was determined to punish Moi for all the atrocities he did. But what happened? There is something called patriotism. There is something called nationalism. And even the savior of Moi came from unlikely quarters, okay? The person that Moi detained for 9 years is the one who stood on the floor of the House and say there is no need of us investing energy in fighting this old man. Let's concentrate in reconstructing our country. What you are saying that Uhuru Kenyatta should go and achunge kondo na achunge wajuku, that is what NAC was saying in 2002. But what happened? Okay.
You see, boss, what I'm saying,
yes.
I'm not just focusing only on Uhuru. Mimi I'm just, Uhuru si eti yeye ndio mwisho wa rais wamekuja, Ruto pia. Unajua hii kitu ambayo inafanyika saa hizi ni kitu inakuja kumfanyikia hata Ruto na rais mwingine, rais atakayekuja.
Ndio nakuuliza wewe kama Saburi, wewe kama baba wa nyumba na mwenye msimamizi wa familia, ungependa kuahirisha matatizo ama kuweka misingi ambayo iko predictable, and after you, your son will take over and there will be no acrimony? So taking care of Uhuru Kenyatta according to the constitution is not a Ruto thing. It is a Kenyan thing. That's why we are discussing. How are we looking as Kenya when we are punishing the people who have served us for 10 years in office? Are we still a good family? Are we an example to the nations on how a family should be raised by dumping the people who have served us and who are holding the key to our security?
Is this the right time to ask whatever they are asking? Is this the right time?
When is the right time? When is the right time? Unangoja mvua ianze kunyesha ndio utafute mwavuli ama unasemaje wewe?
The right time, you don't have to go and demand for somebody kuja kukuambia hata kama iko kwa katiba. This is the right time for you.
Saburi, I think you're not following the story. No, let's
this is a standard for all governments, bwana.
Ngoja, follow the story. The Uhuru Kenyatta office is speaking now, okay? After a year plus of silence and suffering in silence. They have not gone public 2 days. Kama vocha zao za kujaza mafuta kwa gari zilikuwa cancelled in March 2023.
Hebu nieleze kuanzia hapa. Rais ambaye amehudumu
kwa rais ambaye amehudumu the following week.
Ndio iko kwa katiba, iko kwa katiba, lakini hebu nieleze rais ambaye amehudumu kwa miaka 10 kwa ofisi. Tena ofisi ni ya nini anahitaji? What for?
Gani? He needs an office bwana. Bwana, he needs an office bwana. We are doing
order. Let's not shout.
No bwana, ndio jamaa bwana. We are trying to msikiliza bwana, he is taking us through bwana. Hakuna bwana. Hatuwezi sikiliza.
Order both of you. Thank you. Now bwana Saburi, inaonekana ni kuna maswala ambayo huelewi na kuomba tafadhali ueleweshwe, na kueleweshwa kutahitaji wewe kusikiliza, okay? Yule mtu ambaye ametumika kwa ofisi kama rais is an asset to the country. Is an asset to the country. I was telling you about Moi. When Moi left office, there was acrimony. But when Kibaki took over, there was a lot of instability in Kibaki. Kibaki settling down, it was not easy. Na wale watu walikuwa wamesema Moi aende kuchunga kondoo, nao ndio walifunga safari, wakaenda Kabarak kuongelesha mzee, tufanye nini? Ndio mzee akaambia Kibaki, kama unaongoza nchi kuna watu ambao lazima uwashughulikie. Pili, usitoe provincial administration. That wisdom from Moi is what saved Kibaki's administration when he was shaky and all that. So you don't assume that because somebody has left office, it's become useless. The most important people in this country are those senior citizens. In fact, if we borrowed from their wisdom and depended on them, we will not be in the mess we are in. We are in the mess we are in because of neglecting the wisdom of the elderly. Hao watu mnasema ninya mpangwingwi, mtafanya vile mnataka, regardless of those elders. Those are assets to this country. And you know that very well. The way even your family is going. That is what you do. You consult with your mzee or the people who have retired. You cannot say that they are useless. It is constitutional to take care of the former president. Tumsikilize Joshua kwanza. Bwana Joshua, unmute. Your mic is off. Okay, let me help you. Let me help you. I hope it works. Just a moment, Reverend Lalo. Joshua.
Yes, yes. Habari zenu nyinyi wote.
Tuko poa. Karibu.
What I want to say is that once something is in constitution, is in constitution. Whatever this man is doing is just embarrassing. How can you deny someone's ile kitu yenye anafaa apewe kikatiba, unamnyanyasa? You can call it hii ni kama anajaribu kulipisha kizazi kwa sababu even today Raila Odinga was prime minister na bado anapewa zile magari za serikali, anaekewa mafuta, anafanyiwa kila kitu. The same applies to Kalonzo Musyoka and Mudi Awori. Those former head hizo ofisi kubwa, they are being sponsored by the government. Why do you want to deny Uhuru Kenyatta? Na ile kitu yenye inanishangaza, ana embarrass mpaka the mother to Uhuru Kenyatta. Why? Mtu mwenye amepewa everything from the state kutokea kwa Moi akiwa president. Hii ni kujipiga kifua. The uongozi is just temporary. Alafu the tax. You want to tax even my vehicle that I have bought with my money. You want to tax to kunitosha ushuru. Why? So this guy ni kujipiga kifua, anajipiga kifua na anajaribu kulipisha kizazi, which I don't know where is coming from. Uhuru ametuongoza vizuri, ametuacha vizuri, then all of a sudden I don't know where this person came from. Ni hayo tu.
Yes, sawa. Back to Reverend Lala, ulikuwa umenua mkono?
Nilikuwa nimenua mkono ndio. My brother Nevi, I think it's Novi. I think there are several reasons why I think Bernard has stated why we need to protect and provide for these leaders, because I think it's gone. Because they have been the key people in the previous government, made many decisions that concerns us. And therefore, we got to protect them. And any civilized country like the US, Barack Obama decided to go after Osama. Do you know the people that they consulted before he could do what he did? It is always the former presidents. They are in a league of their own in the US and other countries. They consult each other because they know what it is to be in that office. And if you want to play with a country like the US, go for any of those former presidents, because they are removing dictionary of information that the country treasures. Their treasure. That's why they, whether they died, is always given the state funerals, because of the role that they play in a nation. So to say that these guys should not be protected is really foolish. It's really foolish, because even you in your own home, you don't tell your grandfather or your father, those guys have outlived their usefulness, let them just, don't provide for them because they are old, they are not in the office, they're no longer able to go and work. And so I agree with Uma that I think when you talk the way you do, people kind of wonder what kind of information you have or what kind of knowledge you have of what a country leader, is supposed to be in that state nation. And so the Constitution allowed their protection, their services actually to continue behind the scene. They do a lot of work. So when they have an office, they have a structure. And in most countries like the US, after they leave, they are given actually a lot of funding to establish a foundation, a think tank, whatever it is that they have to help the nation. And that is all financed by the government because it is actually a repertoire. It's a place where people can gather information, a library that people can go there and learn leadership and how to run the nation or how not to run a nation. So actually they need a lot to to help the president, okay? In other words, a nation should have many of them, not just one person that rule people forever, but there are other people, so that power we can study power, how it has been used over the years from each president. Like now you can go to Reagan Library, you can go to Bush Library and all those places. And you listen to the US, I'm sort of bringing the US here. Whenever president is making a major decision, you'll hear them. I already called Bush, I already called Carter, I already called this person to kind of show that he is consulting. In other words, they are not coming up with these ideas that is cooked in their bedroom and they go out there and share. They want it to be based on a council that is of the wisdom and the knowledge of the people in that nation, so that the idea can be sold. The idea behind leadership is being able to sell your ideas, and you cannot sell it if you've not talked to the key people in a nation. So the president, as long as one has been a president, he has to be protected, including Ruto. When he leaves the office, he needs to have an office so that we can learn how not to be a president. All those, whatever it is that went on. He may go to jail, but he still have a library where we can also learn something about leadership. Okay, so I just want to say those things. Thank you.
Okay, sawa Njiru, unasemaje?
Oh, I wanted to give an example too, because some things are documented in the Constitution everywhere. Like for instance, we have the former president, the incoming president, Mr. DJT, when he was in San Francisco the other day, and another day he was in New York. Even though he is a former president, you could see even a convoy of policemen, and he has access to a lot of CIA and some access to other facilities. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say here, huyu jamani, sijui alikuwa anaitwa Saliba ama alikuwa anaitwa nani, is not good to allow, that is outright ignorance. Then pia naona sijui kuna jamaa anajiita Washington hapa anasema ati Kenya cannot continue to finance an office which has at 34 staff. I want to tell people the work of a retired president, because Bernard, that's where we need to start. Ni kama watu hawaelewi what a former president does. Number one, a former president is a symbol of consultation in the country. For your information, it's only that Mr. Ruto is a man of vendetta. You even remember when Uhuru was in power, he could timely even go and visit Mr. Moi. They could have a chat there. Occasionally, you could see that, like those talks with Akina Kibaki, there is usually that dialogue. It's only that Mr. Ruto ni mtu wa kiburi excess, kiburi haisaidii, and he thinks that he is a man of his own functionality. And the reason why Mr. Ruto is suffering is because Uhuru is not in the trajectory of where he can offer help. Let me tell you, Bwana Bernard, it doesn't mean that all the problems which we have, they are unsolvable. But sababu tuko na mtu wa kiburi sana, kiburi na viburi zingine hazisaidii. Ndio na kuambia bwana data, wewe kama wewe ukiwa mchungaji hapo, wale watu washari tire, you have to know that those people have already been in the trajectory. Zile vitu najaribu kusolve sasa na ukijifanya ati venye unajua kufikiria, some of them walipitia hizo vitu 1970, lakini sasa tu unataka kujifanya ati wewe ndiye msomi, unataka ati kudiscover. And even wasomi wanasema even you cannot invent the wheel. As Ruto is interested in inventing the wheel, ndivyo anatuibia zaidi. Some of the things he is wanting to, like for example, Uhuru alijenga mabarabara, Uhuru alijenga airports, Uhuru has even done a dual carriageway, ile inaenda mpaka Marua. Hiyo kwanza hata inapitia kwangu chua bana, niringe hapa saa hii lazima niringe bana. Hiyo ni kitu nasema, sijui kama mnasikia, the first dual carriageway in Kenya inaguza shamba yangu chua. Hiyo lazima niringe, inaguza chua. Saa hii huyu Ruto yenyu he cannot even do a dual carriageway to anywhere. He cannot do a dual carriageway. And Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta has made it possible for my own land to be touched by dual carriageway. So if Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta has done those things, that is the work of a retired president, to be consulted. But if you don't consult him, it is not his problem. And that is why you have to pay him, because as long as he is alive, you have to pay him. As long as he is alive, you have to pay him, because he is a symbol of consultation to make sure that things are working seriously. Like for example, kutokezea kitu kibaya sana Kenya, whereby we need even to connect people. Kuna vitu zimetokezea. The first person to run to is the retired president. It's only that this guy is a guy of a data, and that is why we don't need him as a president, because he is not able to connect the future and the past. When you are not able to interact with the former president, you are not able to connect the future and the past. And that is why we don't need him. That is why Kenya tunatumia guesswork. Sababu tuko na mtu anajifanya ati amesoma sana na anajua sana. Mjuaji. In my language tunawaitanga karuru. Sijui kama bwana bana unajua watu tunaitanga jua karuru. Who go nowhere. Jua karuru, sijui mjua yote, wajuaji. Even in families, these are the people. Unakuta hata watoto na bibi wamepelekwa kwa mtaro. We don't need such people. Mtu atanafikiria ati yeye ni kiburi sana. We don't need this guy. So Bernard, as I conclude his statement, ni ya kwamba Uhuru Kenyatta deserves his dues because they are constitutionally protected. Whether he has that 4 staffs, I don't know what is allowed. Whether he has 100 staff, it is enshrined in the constitution, security na kila kitu. Why? Because if we mistreat a former president, and what Ruto is doing, he can actually do bad things to us. If Ruto cannot obey something which is written in black and white in the constitution, what about us? Bana, kuna kitu nataka watu waangalie hapa, including this guy anajiita na Vesubiri. Msiangaliange ati yule mtu anateswa. Look on how these things can jump to you. Unajua hii ndio ile vitu watu hawajuangi. Munaona Uhuru anateswa. But let me tell you, Ruto will do the same thing kukutesa wewe. Even things which are enshrined in your constitution, kama wewe sahi, we have a Bill of Rights. We have Kenya is a sovereign nation. There are things which are enshrined in the constitution to protect us, to protect me. And Ruto will subvert that the way he is subverting what he is doing to Uhuru. And that is why if Ruto cannot obey such a thing, I'm endangered. I feel endangered. I feel stressed. Bwana Subiri, I feel stressed, and I cannot continue respecting somebody like that. I feel stressed because I'm one step to an attack. Huyu ni mtu ambaye anaweza sema from today henceforth hakuna pesa italipwa kwa mashule tena. Hiyo macapitation nimetoa, hiyo kila kitu nimetoa, hakuna nini sijui nini. Na anakuja with new problem. He is the same guy who said watu watapewa diapers muzae kuzaa. We cannot allow a constitutional mandate to be subverted. We will not allow. I'm not a parliamentarian, but I will speak with a lot of authority. We will not allow Mr. Ruto to subvert the constitution. We will not allow. Bwana Subiri, na usituambie. Na kama unakuja kuongea things outside that boundary.
Order. Asante. Ujumbe wako umefika, tunashukuru. Na naomba tafadhali tumakinike and let's engage One moment, Reverend. I'm coming to you. Ngoja tu kidogo. Let us engage with civility and then, of course, be objective. Okay? Let's be objective. It is easy to throw around words, but it's important that we substantiate. One of the things that I work so hard to ensure that it is achieved on this channel is for it not to be sensational and not for it to be for games. They are comedy channels, they are sensational lies channel and all that. We are sound, candid talk. We want to be sound, candid in everything that we say and do. And that's why we want every claim you bring up, please make sure that there is a linkage. That's why I'm always referring to history. I will take you to Jomo Kenyatta, take you to Moi, and link to the present. Because if we don't link, it becomes easy to lie. And that's why Ruto is taking Kenya round by round. Alianza na kusema yeye hahitaji history, yeye ni wa sasa na tupangwingwi. And what has happened, okay? Everything, what Njiru is warning us about is exactly what Ruto is doing. He did away with subsidies for petrol. What did we do? Nothing. He did away with Kazi Mtaani. What did we do? Nothing. He did away with Linda Mama. What did we do? Nothing. He has now done away with the insurance for secondary school going children that was paying for their medication. What have we done? Nothing. He has done away with feeding of lunch. Lunch tu ya kwanza si ya Kenya yote ya watoto wa semi-arid areas. Hiyo pia imemshinda. Sasa is now want to do away with Uhuru Kenyatta. What kind of leadership is this? So Reverend Lala, in 1 minute, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Bernard, for sharing that. My brother, I think there are some of us who are not aware because we don't have the information. But if you understand how nations run, then you would appreciate the role of an ex or former president. You see, for anyone to invest in Kenya, they're looking for continuity when it comes to business. Can they trust that system? And presidency has been a way to hold a nation together. In other words, there are some things that are non-negotiable. You're not petty. In other words, somebody can come and still will trust that their business will run in the next 100 years so they can invest in that nation. And so the role of a president is actually so important for investors, that actually what they're bringing in is more than, because when people come in and they know that every year or every 3 years or 4 or 5 years, whatever time limit, system change to the point where you cannot even talk to the former president whom you signed treaty under to invest in that nation, and everything is different, they won't put their money there. People put their money because they know Subiri as a country that will protect their interests and stay on. And so the role of a president is really, really important. In the US and other countries, even when the president dies, the wife still earns, okay? Because of the role those offices play in a nation. So I just wanted to emphasize that aspect, and I can even tell you how much the US, I've got in front of me here, what the wife will make, okay, and what they're supposed to do, and that is really important and significant, okay. A lot of presidents, like Reagan, when he left the office, to invite him to speak, you pay a lot of money, and business around the world were looking for him, okay, to come and speak to them because they want what? They want favor, okay? So if a former president is needed for such favors and you don't use him as a nation, then you're losing. And so for the US and even Kenya, believe that the only time they don't get that allowance is if they get into another elected office, okay? then during that time, the money or the benefits or whatever the allowance stops, and then immediately they leave that job, it comes back again till their wives. The president dies, but the wives are still getting that kind of compensation because it is beneficial. We are not losing anything. Actually, we are gaining. So whatever Uhuru has is actually a benefit to all of us if we know exactly the role of those former presidents. So I wanted just people to educate a little bit to know that, because these sound bites can go out there and people begin to feel like maybe Uhuru is taking money from us when actually is helping us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Lala. I believe that makes the point. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to engage, please keep inviting somebody and like the video, participate in the poll question. I'll be giving you a verdict shortly. Saburi, sijui kama una anything you want to respond to before we bring in John? Reverend Lala, mute your mic, please. Bwana Saburi.
Mimi ningependa kusema hivi. Yes. Mimi ningependa kusema hivi. Si lazima kwamba kama kuna mtu alikuja akapita mahali fulani akafanya vile alifanya, wewe ukikuja mahali hapo ufanye vile pia yeye alifanya. Lazima kuwe na mabadiliko ya kimawazo na mabadiliko ya kufanya vitu. Hapo naomba tuelewane. Pili, hebu niulize swali rahisi. Umeenda umenunua shamba, wewe ndio mmiliki.
Kabla utoke hapo, ngoja nataka unieleweshe. Ushakuwa shule kidogo na naamini, okay? Formula ya kupata area of a rectangle, does it change with people? Ati mwalimu huyu ni mrefu, alipokuja kwa klasi akasema length times width has now changed because I am a new teacher and I'm thinking differently. We are no longer going to use length times width. We are going to get the area, but don't worry, we'll get the area, but we will not use length times width. Does it work that way?
Unajua ile kitu iko hapa, we are not looking for the circumference or the area or anything. Kitu iko hapa ni kwamba ukweli ni kuwa haya masuala yote tunayoyasema saisi Ruto ndio yuko ushukani, na hatuwezi sema ni lazima afanye vile wale waliowatangulia walivyofanya. Yeye ndiye yako ushukani na hakuna haki ya kufanya mabadiliko.
Ruto hayuko mamlakani. Ngoja, Ruto hayuko mamlakani kufanya vile anavyotaka. Yuko mamlakani kufanya kuongoza nchi sawa kulingana na katiba. Okay? Na katiba ndio ili create office of a former president. It is in the constitution. So if William Ruto is not following the constitution, then he's violating the law of the land. That is enough grounds for him to be impeached from office.
Ni kutaka kusema watangulizi wote waliotangulia yote waliofanya yalikuwa ni haki na yalikuwa ni sawa, mradi tu yaliandikwa kwenye katiba. Unajua hii katiba tunayoizungumzia katiba hii sio kitu kitoka mbinguni, sio Biblia. Ili ni swala
we can't listen to this man.
Bwana Njiru, please, can you be patient? We have been patiently listening to you. Okay?
Yes.
Bwana Saburi, no, listen.
What I'm trying to say,
you are here.
Not challenge me.
Nisikilize kwanza. If you are here to disregard the rule of law and you are here to support impunity, okay, then you're on the wrong platform. We don't do that here.
No,
we must hold everybody in this country to account.
You can only judge me. You can only judge me by giving attention. Usikize kitu naongea. That's the only way you can charge me.
No,
you cannot charge me.
No, listen to me. What you are pushing is the UDA mentality of telling us Ruto is in power, so he's free to do what he wants to do, anyhow he wants to do. That does not exist in any civilized society. So if Ruto is not following the law, he's breaching the law, he must be held to account. And if you are supporting him in violating the law, then you are part of the problem. You need to be solved just like we are solving Ruto. And that is the wrong thing about this country, that we support people in their wrong. How do you do that?
You cannot solve a problem na hasira. Kitu ya kwanza.
Sio story na hasira bwana Saburi. Wewe ni mzee, wewe ni baba. Hiyo mambo unasema hata ifanyiki kwako.
Swali langu kubwa ni
hiyo mambo unayosema hayafanyiki kwako.
Unajua si yote yale ambayo
mkubwa tunaumwa vichwa bwana. Even if I'm controversial, hiyo ni beyond bwana.
Now, mabibi na mabwana, mimi naomba hivi tafadhali tuheshimiane. Na kuheshimiana hapa ni kuhakikisha kwamba mtu hawezi kuja hapa kufundisha kile kitu ambacho hafundishi watoto wake. Bwana Saburi, najua hiyo mambo unayosema ni hapa kwa platform. Binti yako, okay, kwa nyumba yako, hauwezi kusema kwa sababu yeye ako kwa mamlaka afanye vile anavyotaka. So you are misleading the country and you don't even practice what you are advocating.
I'm not misleading anything. What I'm trying to say is that
Sabuni anasema anasema Ruto atuue. According to Sabuni, Ruto akiamua kutuua, yeye ako sawa.
Njiru acha hiyo maneno. Maunga.
Bernard, what I was saying, poleni sitawasalimia hata because naona hakuna haja kusalimiana. Unaona unasema ati huyu ati ni nini anafundishanga watoto wake? Imagine Ruto, we have the likes of Ruto in power because of watu kama hawa. Ruto alikuwa na mzazi kama huyu. So usishangae huyu sijui Zaburi sijui nini. I don't even know why he's applying a biblical name. This kind are the ones who raise children who are misfits, by the way, who have absolutely no business living with anyone. Yeah, mwenye, the reason why there's criminals is because of these kinds of people, by the way. So usifikiri ati amekuja hapa kwa platform, this is what he doesn't do in his house. Hawa ndio wale wanatuharibia Kenya, we are actually unfortunate enough kwamba wanazaa watoto alafu wanalea, as in wanalea watoto alafu wanawalea into monsters like these ones. Sasa usishangae ati huyu amelea ati things differently ati anatuambia hapa kwa platform hivi. That is exactly who he is, and that is the reason why we have the likes of Ruto in this country. What we simply say is as follows: we as Kenyans have a constitution for a reason. The people wale ambao waliketi hapo wakatunga hiyo katiba, walikuja wakauliza Wakenya kwamba katika maadili inakuwaje kwamba mnataka nchi yenu iongozwe vipi? Kwa hiyo ilikuwa ni maoni ya Wakenya kwamba Kenya inahitaji kuongozwa hivi na hichi. Huu ndio mwongozo ambao tunahitaji kutumia. Kwa hiyo yule ambaye yote atakuja kuchukua kodi, manake huyu mtu alikuja kwa njia ya ubabe, akachukua huo uongozi kwa njia ya kibabe, akachukua huo uongozi. Wakati ambapo alichukua huo uongozi, alihitajika kwamba ajue kwamba Kenya sio shimo ingine ambayo alikuwa ameingia kule ndani by mistake, kwamba sasa atafanya mambo ambayo anataka kwa njia hiyo ile ambayo anastahili, anataka kufanya jinsi anavyoifanya na jinsi alivyolelewa vibaya, akawa yeye ni mbatili na muizi na muuaji, mnyang'anyi, kila kitu kibaya ambacho yeye yuko pale, akaingia pale kama kiongozi wa nchi, alafu aendeshe nchi jinsi ya kina nani sijui Novi sijui nani nini hizi zinavyokuja kutueleza hapa hivi. Kwa hiyo inahitajika kwamba Wakenya wajue hivi, nchi ina wenyewe, wajue Ruto atakuja kuingia katika kaburi lake litakuwa 4/6 kaka. Wakati huu ambao watakuwa wengine wetu tutaenda huko kudensi, nakwambia kwamba Mungu anipe uhai leo hii, kwamba Ruto atakapozikwa nitaenda huko kufanya matambiko ya kwangu, kumuonyesha kwamba ndio wengine wetu tumezaa katika hii nchi, lakini hatujazaa vibaraka kama kina Novi na kina Ruto, na vibaraka vyote ambavyo viko hapa Kenya vinatembea ovyo ovyo, vikitangatanga vikituharibia nchi, vikinya nchi yetu jinsi unavyotaka. Kwa hiyo the good thing about it is as follows: kifo yaje itampata hata huyu. Kwa hiyo sio kwamba ati wajukuu wangu watakuja wasitiri na huyu wajinga kama hawa. Kenya itakuja itaongozwa kikatiba. Sikiza, sikuwa naongea na wewe by the way. Wewe you're not even my kind. Siwezi kuzaa mtoto kama wewe. Siwezi kuzaa kitu kama wewe. Kwa hiyo acha nikuelimishe. Kwa hiyo kwa kukuelimisha ni hivi. Kuna wanawake wale ambao tumezaa watoto, tukawalea kwa kimaadili. Wakawa wako na baba ambao wako na nidhamu, wana ustaarabu. Kwa hiyo wakawazaa wa Kenya ambao wanaelewa kwamba mimi sikuwa naibishana na mtu yoyote. Nimekuja kukueleza kwa taarifa tu. Kwa sisi ni watu wa kodi. Wakati ambapo tunatoa kodi katika nchi hii, tunatembelea hii nchi tukijua kwamba wajukuu wetu, vitukuu wetu vitakuja kutembea kwenye hii Kenya wakijiita kwamba ni wa Kenya. Kwa hiyo hawatakuwa wanakuja kuchukua maadili ambayo yameokotwa na vibaraka ambavyo havikuhitaji kuzaliwa hapa Kenya, vije vituharibie nchi yetu. Kwa hiyo tuna katiba. Katiba ni mwongozo, ni kama Biblia yetu, inatuonyesha kwamba hivi ndio vile mnahitaji kufanya. There's something called institutional memory for a reason. I serve in an organization where you have a sitting person. So you have a district governor. So the district is Kenya. So when you have a district governor, you have a past district governor, an immediate past district governor, and you have a district governor elect. Now this office is usually referred to as the Troika. When you are working with the Troika, this is normally institutional memory. There's something called augmentation. You augment what is here now, you match it with what was there yesterday and what you envision the future as becoming. So even whenever you're making strategic plans, whenever you're doing strategic engagement, you're doing it with the future in mind and you're doing it with a guided past. So even when the present is here, it is one that is leading you towards a future that was informed by a past. So we borrow the best practices of what was there in the past, even as we proceed towards the future. We are futuristic people. Hatuko hapa kama wale ambao tunakuja tukifikiria kwamba sisi ndio hivyo tumefika. Kwa hiyo sisi ni Mungu, muumba mbingu na nchi. Kwa hiyo tutakuwa sisi hapa siku zote, forever and ever tutakuwa. No. We leave what it is that we did that was good for the next person who's going to come, and we leave a guide. And that usually happens in human beings. Thank you. By the way, Bernard, usirudishe huyo mtu hapa. Hii kwangi channel ya wajinga kukuja kupayuka hapa. Akaya kijua katarifa yake.
Huyo beti ya Gongo quarantine ya miaka 2 bana. Quarantine ya miaka 2. No, bana.
If you don't show mercy, you will not be shown mercy. Bible says.
No.
Relax. Okay, let's do this in the interest of time. Let's listen to John first, then we play a video. John, how are you? Good to see you.
Hello, Saseni. Hello, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Perfect. I like the topic today. It's very good. The fact that we can sit down and speak about politics and where our country is going to. It is something that is very fundamental. As in, we as a people, we shall change the policy and the conversation. It's us talking that is change how we resonate and how our brothers and sisters who don't really like having political conversations to start talking about that conversation, because I've come to realize a huge percentage of most of us do not like having this conversation. It's very uncomfortable for them. And there is a huge number that feels it is better for them to say, other siku vote, other than them saying, I voted for this person. I opted to vote for this person because of a certain reason. No, but I'm actually vote. Actually, I have a friend. Nilijua alivote, but ukiwa na conversation naye anakuambia siku vote. Not until mtu akataja kusema actually vote na wewe. You get, like, people are not proud of what they did. But people are trying to sort of move away from saying, hey, guys, we had a political conversation 2 years ago. We never made the right decision. It is what it is, and this is where we are. But going forward, we need to relook into things. Now, the events of today, and I believe that's what we've been discussing, kuna issues na simu yangu. So the issues of today and what is happening in politics, and these politicians are very good on coining certain narratives and coming up with things that we as a people, we might not really understand them very clearly, are very good. Like politicians are very good at coining some certain narratives, and they will run with them. And if you're not careful, you're trusting someone who believes in absolutely something completely different from what you think is going on. Example, how quick are we to forget that the same person who said 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote doesn't make sense is the same person who's jumping in the ship and saying, I am the leader. I'm gonna champion for this narrative. So that there are some certain things that are very political, and people trying to get some footing in the political space and to appear as if they are championing some certain cause. Now, number 2, there is another caliber that is speaking. Kuna ile ya rusha mawe kwangu itavunja dirisha kwako. Like you're throwing stones into my Babati house, you forget yours is made of glass. So there is that. And looking at what Kanzadena did today, it's more of Uhuru Kenyatta is not very clean. He has his own skeletons. But now he has nothing to lose. You look at the whole scheme of things, he's not in court. He's not been charged for anything that he ever stole, anything that ever went wrong in his government, because we are a third world country because of bad governance. Part of that governance starts at the head. He's not in government at the moment. He's not been sued by anyone. We don't know of any big case that is in court. Maybe another was sued by different people, but there is no big push to see justice come into place. We remember during his tenure, we had some few things that happened that were not very good. Kuna vitu ziliai happen, no one has followed up. Now here we are. We have a sitting president trying to frustrate him. He's got nothing to lose. Yeah, anasema mimi umerusha mawe kwangu kwa mabati juu. I'll break your windows. I will just come for you. I will come for the jugular. And by asking, kuna gari ambazo zilikuwa zitunuliwa sijui za nani, sijui zilikuwa zifanywa. So tell us where the money is. It is trying to show a system that is in place that is full of corruption. So as Kenyans, we should be very clever. Let us not be swayed very easily. Don't be so quick to be swayed. Oh, actually, apparently, we are being beaten. We are clean, actually. The much we buy into this rhetoric, the more we remain a third world country. The less we listen to the rhetoric and ask them to act up and show us action, then we shall start progressing. The only thing, I think we have a future, and the future is as bright as daylight. We have a future in Kenya. People are now starting to ask serious questions. People are coming out saying, you know what, actually, it is very healthy for these politicians to continue fighting each other. It is very, very healthy. Let Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta and Gachagua, and if they want to put Raila Odinga in there and Musalia Mudavadi and all those old guys, let them fight to the end. Because the more they fight, the more they show us the skeletons. So that gullible Mamboga, who is not very well sort of knowledgeable in terms of politics, is now getting us a sort of like a small pinch of the salt. And that you are, oh, okay, so this is how much you guys earn. So the president, you get almost $500 million allocation. Oh, wait a minute. If the former president is getting $500 million allocation, so what about the president? So you guys are messing up with. You guys have like you have in your hands or at your disposal more than $1 billion Kenya shillings. Yet me as Mama Mboga, I am receiving absolute nothing. Then these questions, they make us now start reasoning as a people. And when we are electing someone who's going to be handling such amounts of money, those are colossal amounts. These are people who are spending 200 million to fly to America and back. These are people who are using the packs that are coming out here as donations. I have evidence, and I have a story of someone I know very well who lives abroad. They had a charitable organization. The money went to Kenya. The money did nothing. The money was taken to politics, and the money was shared amongst cronies, friends. So unfortunately, we as a people, Not until we start thinking or reasoning as a country or as an individual, we shall never proceed, or we shall never be successful. You'll find someone, and indicating happen in Kenya only. There is someone who will stand there and really defend a politician or speak to the positive side of a politician. I want to say, yeah, this guy is this and this guy is this. No. If politicians were good people in Kenya, they would have been doing things that show their with a positiveness. It would be felt in people's pockets, in people's daily lives. Example, I live in a country where I don't know my MP. I have no idea jina yake anaitwa nani. Sijawahi muona akikampaign. Ananga mshahara kubwa. Najua anaishi state yetu mahali tu hapa ndani. We don't talk. I don't even care who he is. But sijai kosa maji, sijakosa stima, sijakosa lishe, kuna kazi. That's the difference between our way of running things and the difference of countries that have developed and how they run things. Kenya is still growing. It's a beautiful nation. It's a country that needs it. I mean, kuna substantial growth that itakuwa hapo in the near future. At the moment, we will still find the rhetoric of nonsense. Hii story yote mnasikia saa hizi, it's absolute nonsense. It doesn't add absolute nothing to no one's pockets. So not until, but the only thing.
Bwana Bosco, before you drop that, I just want to get this. You have given us an example of where you are and how things are happening. You are enjoying paying taxes because you are receiving services. Here we pay taxes and no services. And then, of course, the matter we are discussing here is not a personality issue. It's a Kenya issue. How are we ranked in the among the nations of the world when we cannot defend a widow first lady, we cannot take care of a former president, that there is a tug of war between the sitting president and the former president because of financing the former president's office, which is provided for constitutionally. Isn't that the height of folly?
Nikisema hivyo as a person who lives abroad inatoka vibaya, but it is the epitome of being a banana republic. That's the epitome. It is the lowest you can go as a country. It is the reason as to why we receive donations. It is more as to why America will come to us with a token and not a business proposal. You know, let me tell you something. When the G7 meets, they don't meet to give each other donations. They meet to do business. They meet to discuss about us and how they shall deal with us. If we as Africans, and I don't speak about third world countries as Kenya only, now they are also the whole of Africa. If African countries were serious, 1 billion of us, like, guys, do you know, and facts, you can Google, the richest country in Africa has the same GDP as the poorest country in Europe. Facts. Ukraine is ranked one of the poorest countries in Europe. It has the same GDP as Nigeria, which is the biggest GDP in Africa. So you think about it. We are 1 billion of us. We can't sit down and discuss business. We discuss donations. We discuss how punitive it is that these guys lend us money at a higher rate. Who lend us money? Did they come and put the money? You know, it is us as a people. There is something wrong. There is something in our DNA that is amiss. Now, in terms of the mother of the former president and the former president, it is what we call trying to whip people's emotions. It is political. Now, when the political class is doing that, they're doing it to try and whip emotions. Now, here's a narrative, and I can tell you for sure, 100%, the people who have come up with this story. Now, Uhuru Kenyatta is being fought politically. Obviously, it's just out of vengeance. Ruto and Akwabo revenge. We know the history of the man. The man is vengeful. Unajua, unaweza kuwa mimi sijui, I've never met William Ruto. I've met some few officials, but they've never met the president at all. But wanasema mahali kuna moshi kuna moto. Ukiona vieleo jua vimeundwa. As in, ukiona tu kitu yote, behind every rumor there is a little bit of truth. We've been told that the guy is a little bit vengeful. So there is vengeance in this whole thing. But now the only thing they want to bring out is this. Uhuru Kenyatta is becoming more popular. This is now politics side of it. Reality of life is that, but now the politics that is at play is that there is a man who's becoming a little bit more popular day by day. Uhuru Kenyatta is becoming very popular, and mostly in his backyard. The backyard that voted for William Ruto to a man. Now, the problem is, this guy who's becoming a little bit more popular than they want him to be, to aliwonya watu. He went and warned people, akwambia na nini mutaona. Actually, mmepotea. At some point, I'll be walking around. He spoke in Kikuyu. Akasema, I'll be walking around your streets. Mnaniambia, kuliharibika. Now people are saying, hey, by the way, even the deputy himself, anasema hapana, mimi, I need this brother of mine, this senior brother to come over. We have a conversation about where the country is going to. Now, how are they going to stop this man from speaking or talking or trying? Uhuru Kenyatta just needs to call a meeting and the mountain will shift like it has never shifted before. Why? There is a narrative he had already planted before. He just needs to come and accomplish whatever he started. But now, how do you fight him? By telling people, hey, the man who's telling you things are not really good is earning this amount of money. Do you think if he's crying about how we are running the government, he should be receiving this money? So it is the hustler versus the dynasty narrative. It is a narrative of huyu mtu aliwaiba and he's still expecting a lot of money. And if go on Facebook, end up on Citizen TV, wakipost, go to these media stations. Even right now, if you post it, on your comments, you will get people who are saying, wait a minute, this man is a billionaire. Why are you asking for more money? So there is that narrative they're trying to sell. I don't really think it's going to be bought by a majority because people are going through a lot. I think on this one.
So when Moscow conclude, the next person should be coming in.
Yeah. So in short, the government of the day should rethink their strategy. I don't think it's working. Uhuru Kenyatta is winning. That is on the political side of it. As Kenyans, we shouldn't buy none of this. We shouldn't buy none of it. We should look into changing the government as a whole in 2027 and elect. Kuna watu wazuri kwa serikali, si watu wabaya. Return those who are working, remove those who are not. That's how you change a country.
Okay, so thank you, Bwana Bosco, and you need to work on your audio. It seems to be fluctuating, but thank you for your contribution. We really appreciate it, and we're here to see to it that we look at this one animal from different angles so that we have a whole proper understanding of the same, and of course help in making right decisions for the future. Mama Kenyan, maandamano kamili, naomba tafadhali ukaje kabla ya video.
Asante Bernard, asante sana, asante kusikia huyo Bosco, mashauri yako ni mazuri. Maunga, my friend, I say hi to you. Bernard, our pilot, we always admire you for the work that you do. Thank you so much. And I greet you all and Kenyans wherever they are. I'll start with Bosco, what he said about that where he is, he doesn't know the mheshimiwa wa area hiyo kwa sababu hiyo ni nchi ambayo iko na maono na mipangilio. And why I should say and support Bosco is that we elect people and we expect the elected person get busy. We don't need to see them. But in Kenya, they have to show off with V8, with what they have bought, like 20 million watch, all those stuff. And when I look at that, I just feel, what is all this? Actually, Bosco, what you said is what we expect in Kenya, that when we elect somebody, hatutaki kuwa tunaona mheshimiwa anarandaranda, tunataka kumuona huko anatutetea kwa parliament. That asiwe anaonekana all this much. Look at Akina Ishungwa. They're always running around. Bernard, give me a minute. Let me answer this call, please. I'll be back. Just a minute.
Okay, so thank you, Mami. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to engage, we encourage you. If you have not joined Sound Candid Talk as a member, please consider that. Before this show closes, we need to have at least 2 members. We didn't get 1 yesterday. We should get 2 today. And to join as a member on Sound Candid Talk or Sound Candid Talk live YouTube channels, the moment you get to the channel, you will get that popping up, join here. You click on it, follow the instructions, you will be able to subscribe as a member. And there are different levels. There is $1.5 dollars per month. There is 4.9, 4.59. They are about. The highest is $99 a month. The lowest is 1.5. So we encourage as many as possible to join. It's important. I also want to encourage us to support the channel anytime we tune in and we are having a live show like this. Just know that we are spending. Okay, we are spending the tokens, we are spending the wherever the Wi-Fi and all that. We are incurring a bill, and that bill needs to be sorted out. So I want us to be actively involved. That we are sending in our contribution and supporting the channel. So here are the details for those who would want to be part of this. Thank you for your support. You can either use the M-Pesa till number, which is 516575, or you use the M-Pesa number +254 718 454585. That is how to send in your contribution. And please, I want us to do this voluntarily but responsibly. Okay, voluntarily but also what? Responsibly. Know that recurrent bills will always recur. It doesn't matter how much you ignore it, the bill will always be there and you will have to sort it out. So tunakuomba kama wewe ndiye, basi kuwa hivyo. Tuma mchango wako. I'm waiting to see some responses from your end. Thank you. Engineer Kariuki has joined as a member. Thank you so much. So we have member number 1 wa leo. Tunataka wawili, yule tulikosa jana tupate leo. Asante sana Engineer Kariuki for joining as a member. Thank you. So please, let's have that. Mami, if you're back.
Yes, I'm back, Bernard. Yeah, ndio nilikuwa nataka Bosco apate apate mimi na muunga mkono kwa vile when we elect these people, we need them busy, but busy for the wananchi, not for themselves. But what we have seen in Kenya nowadays, it's just for them. It's not about mwananchi. Hata ukiona vile mtu anaongea. And the other thing I want Kenyans to note, hawa watu saa ile wanaongea mambo ya uongo na ya kuharibu vichwa na kufanya ati sasa wanasema msemo ambao utawasaidia, si nyinyi, wao wenyewe. They shout, they make a very loud voice ati ndio iwaingie. Na unajua in most cases hata siku ile slaves walikuwa wanaongeleshwa na masters wao. Hiyo ndio ile sauti ile ilikuwa inatumika. Na kwa hivyo hao slaves wakalala chini wakatoshea bahasha. I'm telling you, it's a very bad sound that comes out of those people when they are lying and when they are fighting for their skin. That is what it is. Okay, I got to my point. When a country takes a loan, hizo ambazo Bosco amesema ati hamufosiwi kuchukua, zinachukuliwa na nani? na hao leaders, na wanachukua kwa credit ya nchi. Vile nchi imekaa ndivyo watapewa loans, na vile wanaenda kuianika huko ndio watapewa loans, na hizo loans hazitafanya kazi kwa Kenya, hazitafanya kazi kwa wananchi, ni zao wajiwekee. Can you imagine what a country goes through? Kama country ingeongea, ingetupea mambo mingi sana machafu ambayo imetendwa na hawa watu. So another thing, denying Uhuru his entitlement, hivi ni kumaanisha hata wale watu wako Kenya wanafanya kazi, NSSF wanawekewa, NHIF wanawekewa, zote zitaenda. That is what will happen. In this country where I am, social security ya mtu inawekwa mpaka siku ile utaritaya, ukiapply tu hivi inaanza kuingia kwa account yako and you will never miss it. Why? Because they respect that. Because that is what the constitution has narrated. That is what it has kept on record. Lakini Kenya ni nini? Hizo NSSF zote zinachukuliwa na mtu mmoja anaweka kwa mfuko. Ni kama pesa zake alizikuta hapo na anarudi anachukua anaweka kwa mfuko yake. Who is that? So that means if he denies Uhuru, you wananchi wale wanafanya kazi mnaweka hizo NSSF, basi hata nyinyi mwe tayari. Then zitaenda the same way, because what he is changing for everybody. He will not change for Uhuru, awaachie nyinyi wananchi ambao mmesushwa, mmetolewa ngazi zenu za juu, mkawekwa kule chini kwa matope. The other thing I want to say, wananchi lazima wajue mambo ile yote inafanywa na hawa watu. Hawafanyi kwa niaba ya wananchi, wanafanya kwa niaba yao. Na ndio sababu unaona wanaendelea kuwa matajiri. And I don't know why Kenyans don't see this. There was a guy here on this forum who was trying to undermine what we are talking about. Huyo siwezi kusema ni brainwashed. Huyo ni vile amezaliwa. Hana msimamo na hana mambo mazuri ndani ya akili zake. I will say that with no fear of contradiction. You cannot just come and talk such kind of rubbish when people are struggling and when you know that that is an entitlement for everybody. Hapa Barack Obama is getting his entitlement. Muone vile anaishi because it is there. Why do you deny your people because of revenge? Revenge can be in a different way, but you cannot be because of you are in power, you deny somebody right. Even the same thing and deny wananchi rights zao. In Kenya right now, hakuna mtu ako na rights. Ni huyo tu ndio ako na rights. Human rights is not in Kenya. It is only carried by one person who is playing about with people's life. So my conclusion is, Kenyans, hata kama hampendi Uhuru, there are things whereby you look at if it will affect you. Because tomorrow it will be you. Let everything go as per the book, as per the constitution ambayo imetujenga, ambayo imetuonyesha njia na mwelekeo. Hiyo ndio tunatakiwa kufuata. Na hivyo huyu mtu anafanya, he should be told stop and enough is enough. You shouldn't treat people like animals or treat people the way it is not. Amesema anafuata law. Anasema anafuata constitution. Ni constitution gani? Ni law gani yeye anafuata zile hatujawahi kuona? Why do we always cry? Why do we always complain? Because this guy is not ready to follow the law. Yeye anafuata yale yeye anapenda na roho yake, sio law. He is above the law na ni makosa. That is a crime in the country. Hakuna mtu ako above the law, but he is treating us like he is above, not like he is treating us the way he is above the law. Thank you so much for listening to me. Asanteni sana.
Okay, thank you, Mami. We appreciate that. And Kenyans, we have a lot to learn in terms of due process. I believe in the Kenya that will work and take care of every Kenyan is the one that governed by law as well as justice. And this justice is not in safeguarding anybody's interest, but the national interest as a whole. Until every Kenyan is considered in every decision that is made for this country, we are not ready to take off. And so we must keep engaging until we get to the bottom of what is ailing our country. But more than that, any form of disregard of law, it's not healthy for the country. And nobody in their right senses should support such. Whether that person, in fact, it's not a matter of Uhuru Kenyatta getting money or not getting money, or having money or not getting money. It's a matter of, are we following due process? Are we handling the situation based on the provision of the Constitution? That I can pay my bill doesn't mean that now I should forfeit or I should work in public office at my own expense. If you engage me as a public officer and the public officer is entitled to allowances, is entitled to be facilitated, that office need to be facilitated. So you cannot say that because the people working in that office have money, they should take care of themselves. The kind of approach towards the remuneration of services in this country, like Mama has said, is dangerous. What Ruto is quoting is dangerous for this country. He will withdraw from everything that we've been enjoying. Look the way he's now selling to us national ID, selling to us abstracts, selling to us everything. It's because he doesn't want to foot anything, but he wants Kenyans to be footing his luxurious lifestyle, which is bringing nothing to this country in terms of advancement. He talks about he has built a network of friends who give him a jet to go to America. But what are we profiting from those network of friends? Companies are closing. Nation Group is wherever cutting down on staff members. Today I saw on the news, Royal Media, I think they were running the insurance, direct insurance line. They are closed up. They are closed up. So companies are closing and you are building network of friends for what benefit? Who is benefiting from that network? We were not like this under Uhuru. We were not like this under Kibaki. We came from a very bad place under Moi. But Kibaki worked hard, brought free primary education. I mean, the nation began to work in the right direction. Why are we being removed from the right direction and being plunged into one forest that we don't know how it's going to play out? So Kenyans of goodwill, this is the time for us to raise our voices. Let's not be silent on this one. When they are coming after Uhuru, it's not Uhuru they are after. They are after replacing the constitution and the provision for the constitution so that no Kenyan is going to claim anything in the constitution. They want to scrap off Mandamano that is in the constitution. They have termed it as illegal or whatever. So what we are looking at here is somebody who is dangerously placing this country in a lawlessness situation that there will be no law. Look, what is happening with the police? Okay, look at what's happening with the police. It's now dangerous to be a police and be walking alone. Why? Kenyans are now fed up. They don't want any of that, any of those issues that huyu ni polisi na anavunja sheria akitumia sheria na anataka kutumia bunduki. So Kenyans are chasing the police, are cornering the police. This is not the country we want. The country we want is a country where every Kenyan is safe wherever they are. And that is only achievable when there is upholding with the rule of law from the greatest to the least. So hii sio kufaitia Uhuru Kenyatta apate pesa, ni kufight the rule of law should have its way. Let Uhuru be handled according to the constitution, just like that Mama Mboga needs to be handled according to the constitution. And these punitive taxes that William Ruto is introducing that are not putting in consideration the rule of law and, of course, the advancement in terms of the betterment of the economy. All these things, if they are not building the economy, they are not improving the productivity of Kenyans, they should be scrapped off, rejected. And this is one of the things that I want parliamentarians to rise up to the occasion and be counted. Hii maneno ya kwenda parliament kuimba chorus waachane naye. Tunataka kuona wale ni wanaume wasimame kwa floor wakatai kitu ili William Ruto ajue hii nchi sio yake na si ya mama yake. Wanasema hivyo wanasiasa. Hii pesa si ya mama yake na hii nchi si ya mama yake. Hii nchi ni ya kila Mkenya. Is only a steward, is only a caretaker. Caretaker chukuanga nyumba anaifanya ya kwake. So Ruto anafikiria akiwa caretaker sasa ndio mwenye nyumba. So Wakenya, let's not be swayed into being sentimental about this. This is putting every Kenyan's life at risk because he wants to replace the rule of law with the rule of the jungle, which is not healthy for any of us here. So please, let's engage. Let's listen to this, then we can bring in Reverend Lala. And as we continue to engage, I encourage us, ebu tutume michango yetu tafadhali. Sijaona notification yoyote na masaa ndio haya na katika. It's almost 2 a.m. na masaa yanakimbia. I would want to sign out because of the morning show. I really am pushing so hard not to fail my 7 o'clock in the morning show. So tafadhali naomba tu makinike. Let's just listen out to this and then we continue with the conversation.
Is our sign language
Still on the same.
A government spokesman, Isaac Mwara, has denied claims that the Ruto administration is frustrating former President Uhuru Kenyatta through budgetary cuts and delays that have crippled his operations. Mwara, in a statement, has reiterated that the government remains committed to uphold the rule of law. Mwara's response comes in the wake of a detailed statement from Kenyatta's office that painted a picture of a Ruto administration that is out to deny Kenyatta his retirement benefits. NTV's Sydney Chazima starts us off.
Former President Uhuru Kenyatta has now taken the fight over his constitutionally provided for retirement benefits at Ruto's doorstep. Through his Director of Communication, Candid, Kenyatta claims that he has received nothing from the 2023-2024 budgetary allocation of 503 million shillings.
The year is ending without the office having any access to this allocation.
Equally, Kenyatta claims that from the 2022-2023 budgetary allocation of 655 million shillings, only 28 million shillings reached his account. To this end, Kenyatta wants to be consulted on matters budgetary allocation.
We would also like to distance ourselves from budget estimates tabled in Parliament. Our position is that we had no input.
But in response to this, government spokesman Isaac Mwaura claims that State House Comptroller, who is the accounting officer for State House, is under no obligation to seek concurrence with Kenyatta. Dena claims that Kenyatta has been forced to foot his own bills.
The lack of access to our rightful budget allocation has forced the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, to run the office from his pocket, paying for all the bills the office incurs.
Other than the budgetary allocations, former President Uhuru Kenyatta is also finding fault in government's reluctance to furnish and pay for his office. Constitutionally, government is mandated to furnish, equip, and maintain a suitable office space not exceeding 1,000 square meters. To this end, Kenyatta chose the Caledonia office, but government says the office sits on his personal property, hence a conflict of interest.
There's an office complex in Nyari, and President Uhuru Kenyatta can use that office as and when he deems fit.
That issue was raised with one of the former one of the beneficiaries. I'm just not able to name who it is right now, but it was concluded by the AG then that is not a conflict of interest, and that's why the former president made the decision to have the offices here.
Kenyatta also claims that his right to a new fleet of vehicles and a fuel allowance of 200,000 Kenya shillings has also been violated.
The fuel cards were given, however, they were cancelled and blocked by State House since March 2023.
His employees have also been targeted.
The office still awaits the confirmation and communication on why they blatantly refuse to renew contracts of 2 professional staff members, the administrator, Mr. George Karaoke, and Mrs. Kanze Dena Mararo, who is the Director of Communication. There's also the issue of unceremonious withdrawal and intimidation of staff via phone calls at midnight.
There are several ways detailing how a retired head of state can forfeit his retirement benefits. This is according to the Retirement Benefits Act of 2003. The former president is yet to resign as the leader of the Jubilee Party. But that withstanding, Kenyatta's presence on the country's political sphere has been low-key of late. Could this just be the government on a revenge mission?
Power is transient, and the people of Kenya will overcome. We will not submit to your threats and blackmail. We will not bow to you. We will not worship you. We worship the living God in heaven. We worship no human being.
Our warriors in office is a precedence that is being set by the government of the day. Their decision to blatantly ignore execution of the Presidential Act No. 11 of 2023 seems to open up a Pandora's box that will leave a retired head of state at the mercy of the government of the day.
The government maintains that it will uphold the rule of law always. Sydney Chazima, NTV.
Elsewhere, thousands of junior secondary
Okay, back to you, Reverend Lala.
Thank you, Bernard. Let me just comment on first of all, that guy. What was his name? Novi, whatever Novi. Initially, I thought he was just an ignorant man who doesn't really know, what the role of the president is. Doesn't know, and there are a lot of people like that, and so I took him to be somebody ignorant. But then, when, in spite of what you shared with him, let him know this ex or former presidents have roles to play, which is a very important role. And then he didn't want to listen. Then I realized that there are people out there who are clearly buying this Ruto thing, which is really to destroy a democracy. That is an excellent example of some of like-minded people that come to this channel for one purpose, and that is to carry on with this evil agenda against the republic. To me, I would urge all Kenyans that the time has come when we can't be passive in our resistance and our fight. We gotta be more active. We gotta be more engaged. People like him should be told, Maunga, I love you. I love you. I think you're an example of people that we need to be able to let them know. Of course, we don't want to be too aggressive to the point where we don't win some of them out there, but we want them to get the truth and the fact. And that's why I love this channel. So all of you out there, let's support this channel so that we can be able to get this kind of information. You can imagine what the regular media is faced with. They need bold people because the fear now is many of them are following. They suppress the truth. They don't want to be seen on the wrong side. And so they are not giving you the information that you're getting out here. But thank God we are here that we can speak it clearly, let people know, let people like Novi come to hear what the truth really is, and many other Kenyans to listen to people like us here, because truth must be told. And one thing I know about truth, it will triumph over this evil, corrupt system that is surely to a dictatorship. Because you see, that young man, I call him young man, is insulting our intelligence. Okay, he is supposed to know, even if he didn't go to school, common sense would tell him that there are some things you just don't entertain. If he's look like he's a man, he has children, and you don't tell your children to, you have to have some rules in your home, some guidelines. But this guy is buying this Ruto stuff, and it's very sad. So my fellow Kenyans, let us stand out there and protect the rights of Kenyans. If there's some issues with the pay, the package that the former presidents are getting, it is okay to visit it and ask questions, maybe through parliament and other acts, so that we can be able to moderate how much it is, or if it need to be a little bit more or less. That is okay. That's a good debate. But to come here to tell us they don't need, vehicles, and you can look at, the Constitution and find, how former leaders are supposed to be president and deputy and the others, it is really, really sad. So my fellow panelists, we must fight for this Constitution, because without it, we go nowhere. We are not an organized, community. We become in disarray. The country will disintegrate completely, even though it has been violated, but it's still the document that is able to help us rally us together as Kenyans. So to hear somebody come on this channel to talk like this young man is talking is truly sad, very, very sad. Especially some young man that I think has gone to school, has little common sense to argue. And so if you are there and you like-minded, follow this type of ideology, this type of people like Ruto and his team, please go and get, I think Bernard always say, go and get your head checked. Some of us need our head checked. I think for Ruto to go after Uhuru the way he's doing it, I don't think it's ever happened in Kenya, where former president, has been attacked the way even Moi, nobody went after him the way it did. But if there is something Uhuru has done, or he did in the office, bring a case, go to court. If he's convicted, that's a different ballgame. But to come up with, stuff like this every time you went to his farm, did what you did, and then there are some Kenyans who still able to stand and protect Ruto, I think we are in trouble. And it is you and me that will sisi tutaokoa nchi yetu. Hakuna mtu mwingine anakuja kutusaidia, ni sisi. Na wenzetu, jana nilizungumza hapa, wengine wetu huonekana kama tumevunjwa moyo sana sana sana. Na mimi kwangu ni hivi, I think it's getting worse for Ruto. The constituency is very small. Milinma almost imeenda, and maybe some few in Rift Valley and others. He doesn't have the people. So those who are telling us how strong Ruto is actually, that's not very factual. You might say, you might cite things he's done, is doing here and there, but that to me shows how weak he is, how insecure he is, how petty he is, going after Uhuru. This shows how weak this man is, and the power is with us. If we know that as Kenyans we have that power, let us use that power, unite together, and stand behind truth, nothing but the truth. Then we shall deliver this nation. And my call is almost won. We must get this country together before 2027, which means Ruto should leave before 2027. Then we can save our nation. If we let him stay till 2027, actually, we are damaging our democracy very badly, because he will find a way to try to stay in power. We may get rid of him, but at a bigger cost. Okay? So it is better now. All these things he's doing, all this evil, all this corruption, all this crime against the constitution is a message enough kwa sisi tuangalie namna kumwondoa. Na kumwondoa tuna sababu, sio kwamba hatuna sababu, tuna sababu, because he has done it, he has damaged it. First of all, he did even got elected properly, okay? And even if he was elected, duly elected, based on what he has done from his election, if he was elected, which he wasn't, is enough for him to go. And impeachment is long, long overdue. And finally, I have a problem with elected clout group, or the MPs and senators and others, okay? This is where we are having the biggest problem. Because if these elected people believe that we are the one who put them there, then they should listen to us. Instead, they are listening to who? To Ruto. The reason why, if you read the Bible, why David's sons were rejected. I mean, not David's son, but Jesus' sons were rejected. Most of them, all of them were rejected except David. It's because they were saluting who? Saul, a rejected, a defeated man. And so they were obeying Saul. That's the one they knew. They didn't think outside the box. They didn't care about the truth. As long as Saul is the leader, they were okay with Saul. And God comes and says, no, none of these guys is qualified to be a leader. Let's get that young man who does not know defeat, who is not obeying this guy, who's not listening to this guy. Because, you know, every time you listen to Ruto and do his dirty stuff, you become dirty. It's a reflection on you, on your morals, your views, your faith. No wonder we are having a hard time even as Christians. And therefore, it is important for those elected, our MPs, in a way to kujua kwamba, for you to go out there to vote for this finance bill and other bills that you know are wrong, but because you have been given money, it is a disgrace. It's a Judas moment. There's no difference between you and Judas, because you're selling your country. Because right now there are people, women and children and others who can't go to school. People are dying of disease that could be treated. It's because you're signing those bills. You know, we want to hide that you didn't know. You're doing it, including people like Gachagua and the rest. That's what they've been doing. They have been killing us. So anytime you identify with a thief, a killer, a robber, you buy into it. You're part of it. And that's why we are here to point out, to call them out, those MPs and others. When you go out there and you know it is wrong and you do it because somebody has paid you, you're worse than a prostitute. Prostitutes, at least, they go out there because sometimes they don't have money. They want to feed their kids. But you can live, you got a pay, we are paying you, yet you go there to betray us by signing something you know it is wrong, it's illegal, it is corrupt, and you go and do it, and you're selling your country. So all these problems of Ruto, they are at your doors. It's better for you to head home or refuse or suffer than selling your country. This is a sellout. So I challenge those MPs. I challenge them. And maybe let's talk about them. Let Kenyans, let's point them out. Let's bring a list of what they do, what they don't do, and they do. Let the country know exactly what they're doing, because their role there is, as lawmakers, is to check the executive. But they've been part of it. They've joined the executive. And so we are on our own. And so wananchi, let's give them hell. Let's not be silent. Let's be active. Let's do it. Let's not be passive. And you know what? We can do it. Any country that we love to cite, they had a time, they came to a point where they had to stand for their country. Okay? Because if you don't, then what you're doing right now, what do we do? Let me tell you, I don't think there's any elected of a member that has never been to Dubai. All of them go to Dubai, every one of them. So Dubai's economy is built by our poor taxpayers. That's where our money goes. They every week go to the airport, they are there. If you fly there, you find them there. And that is the money, that's the tax money is building Dubai. Those skyscrapers they're enjoying. Most of them is our money. You had the US ambassador talked about those of us who try to come to the US and paying for that fees, and they never returned. And she said it. I had a talk about that. Some of them workers there, most of the workers have been laid off. They were depending on those fees. They don't have to get money from the US to pay those workers in the embassy, because we are paying for it. And so Kenyans, you are building other people. You are exporting that money to go and build Dubai, and others to go and have fun outside there. And these are the elected people, those MPs, those were Shimewa. Shame on them. And then they come back and they give you those taxes, and they say nothing. And they start, hiding behind many things. Okay? So let us be candid with them. Let us call them out, because they are betrayers of our people. And unless we stand and do it, nobody's going to do it for us. We are our own saviors to save our country. Thank you, Bernard.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Lala. We appreciate that. Taking responsibility is the surest way to our freedom. And that is why each one of us must take a stake into the governance of this country. We're distancing ourselves from what runs this country must not be a luxury we can afford. Let us, as Kenyans, rise up to the occasion and do the necessary. Okay, Maunga, kama bado huko.
Yeah,
Karibu, then we bring in Black.
yeah. Lala, you have said that we should not be too aggressive, CG, so that we lose them. You know, the rule of the world is when you're not being useful, you are good riddance to bad rubbish. That your mother failed to kill you at birth does not necessarily mean that all this nurturing that the world has done has brought you, like you simply grew old. You did not grow up. So when we get rid of you, you're of no use to anyone. And as such, when we get rid of you, just the better. Because imagine bringing such nutheads in this channel to try and give us garbage and try and waste our time. Some of us ought to be sleeping. We are hoping we're actually going to gain the knowledge. Alafu tunakuja sijui a novice anakuja hapa hivi kutu display his ignorance. Who tells you we have time for him? We aggressively send him out of here. And we tell him that he should have kept quiet because he kind of looks fairly handsome. So he should have kept quiet. Hata kuna mtu confirm ni mjinga. Hasa hiyo jinga yake imetoa everything that is good about him, and as such, he's good to just very bad rubbish. Meanwhile, let's listening to you right now, but then Lala confirmed something to me. I told Bernard the other day that in order to enrich our conversations here, we should be looking at manifesto, especially the UDA manifesto, and talking about it. But I don't know why I now think I have a different opinion just based on listening to you, the story about Jesse's sons. When the Bible appears to be literally a universal guiding principle in the world, and the fact that it's a universal constitution that never changes, just like Reverend Lala had Bernard had previously alluded, that a rectangular does not change its formula based on the fact that a different individual is guiding it. When we look at the verses in the Bible that were guiding, seeing as you two come from a theological background, you can actually be able to guide us because we are being led by, in quotes, a godly regime. We can now decide that for every topic of the day, we actually look for a topic that would be beneficial to all of us across, because actually Qurans and Bible is not very far from each other. It's probably just phrasing that makes it different. But then when it comes to the value system, when it comes to the tenets of life, it kind of embodies it all through. So how about for every topic that we can have a Bible verse backing it? That will help some of us be better literate in as far as concerns religion. And trust me, when we have religion, we will have something to hold on to. Because the truth is, there's a lot of hopelessness that is running through Kenya right now. And the things that we're currently seeing, when we're seeing the police being attacked, next it will be the politicians, by the way, to tell you the truth. They will not turn up anywhere. Kenyans will be attacking them, and that will be. I read somewhere Milima Bona wrote about the fact that whenever she's out of the country or whenever she's in a hotel, she has to reinforce her door more than just with a lock. That's because you can never know. And she gave an incident of one time late in the night, someone came and tried to open her door, and she had reinforced it to the seat like she usually does. And later on, when she went to inform the hotel security, the manager quickly, took the claim on it that, it was him who missed a room or something. So the truth is as follows. I think I remember there was a comment on that particular statement. There was a comment that some of us who are not politicians, who are not thieves, who are not necessarily embezzling money from the countries, we have nothing to run away from, and as such we do not have people who might be running around trying to kill us or harm us to try and save the country from us. So hey, some of us do not necessarily require that extra security because of the same. But the truth is, we need to now be guided as a nation. We need to be guided as a people. We need to, even the listeners who are not Kenyan, because I realize at one point we sometimes do not just have Kenyans listening to this show. We need to have a principle that's guiding us, and that principle, especially if it is anchored in a book as serious as a theological material, institutional, like encyclopedia, so to speak. When we can be able to be guided by that, then it will strengthen our knowledge theologically. It will strengthen our principle, our level of understanding. Because you see now, black became brown, and nowadays, like he sounds very handsome, but whenever I listen to him speak, the woman in me is aroused in the right place, just because he's now finally, getting to look at the country in the manner in which every right thinking Kenyan should. So the truth is, when you give us a spiritual backing to most of these conversations that we are having, when we are given a spiritual backing as to where we fundamentally get our laws, because actually the Bible and the Quran appear to be the books of law that guide, including even the lawyers and the lawmakers, and as such need to be something that we're informed in. I think it will be really helpful so that we understand where leadership is and starts, because I mean the whole formula of leadership falls in those books. So I would implore upon you and Bernard that maybe every day whenever we're coming to the show, you just give us a spiritual verse that we can then expound on. Even as you're talking, you can be able to nourish us spiritually in that sense. So as we move forward, mgala mue lakini haki yake mpe. Kwa hiyo nitasema hivi, the Uhuru and Mama Ngina and the whole shebang, like that full squad of people. The reason Uhuru came into being, irrespective of the fact that we had a new constitution that actually spoke of chapter 6, where for ethics was one of the areas that we were looking at critically. The reason Uhuru came into being and Ruto, and by extension Ruto came into being, is because we were trying to escape the news of ICC. Sasa saa zile watu wa Kenyatta wanakula ngumu kwa sababu ya zile vitu walifikiri wanaingiza Wakenya kwa shimo, kwa sababu walikuwa na mtoto wao mmoja wa kusave. By this sana sana, wacheni Mungu aitwe Mungu, na some of us want to watch it with popcorns. Asante.
Okay, asante sana Maunga, tunashukuru kwa maoni yako, and we'll work hard. I love the suggestion because we are becoming ungrounded as a society. You see, you hear people argue, and you are asking, what is the basis of your argument? They have no Bible reference, no historical reference, no constitutional reference, but they just want to argue. And so our debating will be more healthy when we have a particular structure. And it's important to help, especially those who, we have a lot of people who tune in to this show just to gather point. Some of them are the political analysts and all that. So we're educating a lot of people, and we better get them grounded into what is right and what is valid. Bwana Black, nimeona unateta sana lunch. Kuna nini? Karibu.
Asante. Hamjambo panel na watazamaji na wasikilizaji wherever you are. Hamjambo.
Hatujambo.
Asante sana. Nafurahi kuona mdogo wangu Lala na Bernard na Maunga. Anyway, mine just
Wacha kula. Heshimu uso wa mtu mzee. Ogopa kichwa chenye mvi.
nimezeeka sana, but it's okay. Anyway, yangu is just gonna be brief, and maybe it might brush some people the wrong way, but it's with good intention, and with love, a lot of love for my fellow Kenyans and their well-being. To me, honestly, I don't see how this issue of Uhuru not getting these funds, when I think about how other Kenyans equally wamepata shida kwa sababu fedha zijafika upande wao. Na to be precise, I will go for the school feeding program which I was talking about. In the next budget, as per the Finance Bill 2024-2025, the government has scrapped off the school feeding program, which would have just costed about 4.55 billion. That is the salary of the president, which is 5.1 billion as per the budget allocated to him 2024-2025. 4.8 billion that's been allocated to the DP for 2024-2025. 1.1 billion allocated to the Prime Cabinet Secretary 2024-2025. And 400 billion ambayo imepeanwa kwa county governments, up from 385 billion. Now, it's amazing that despite this being in plain sight, that tumekosewa ama tumehujumiwa kwa kukosa kuwekewa bajeti ya wanafunzi kula vyakula shuleni. Tumekuwa na public participation that has been happening, and we have been fed a lot of dramas and movies in the process of this public participation period ambayo iko inaisha leo, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but that is why we are out there. We can share views, This is just mine. I feel like all this was just a diversionary tactic for Kenyans to not discuss and bring about the issue of vitu vingine kama muhimu kama hivi school feeding program was scrapped off from the finance bill to the public participation, which would have been part of the report. And in essence, if a wide variety of Kenyans would have brought about this issue to public participation and it being included in the report, then in essence, it would have twisted the government to make adjustments to this because it would have to be discussed in parliament and many other things. Now, tumekuwa tukipewa stories za ndege venye ilikuwa, which yes, tumeanza kupewa stories za one man, one shilling, one vote. Right now, coincidentally, I don't know why the timing imetokelezea sahi, tumeanza kuwa issue ya sijui Uhuru's budget sijui hajafika, hajalipiwa ofisi and all these things. So I fail to understand how we are not seeing all these things right through the way I'm trying to point it out. I believe all these are just diversionary tactics. Now, whether we would say Uhuru is in it or not, but to me, I don't think whatever they're talking about is far much more relevant in regards to priority, because I always believe in having order of priorities. Like, for example, unaweza kuwa na priority ya security, priority ya starehe, priority ya mavazi. Unaona, security would always come up there. Not that kwamba mavazi ni mbaya, hapana, no, but just out of the order of priority, security would come up there. So in the order of priority, I think mambo ya Uhuru in comparison to what I've just mentioned as an example, kama your school feeding program, I think school feeding program should be the top of our list in publicizing it and making it pushing that agenda out there for all Kenyans to realize that hii issue of school feeding program imetupiliwa mbali na tunazubaishwa na mambo mengine, because over 2 million students, Kenyan students from poor families hawataweza kwenda shule kwa sababu ya kukosa chakula. Chakula ndio ilikuwa inapeleka watoto shule kwa wale ambao hawajiwezi. Manake mzazi anajua okay, nimeshindwa kuninio, but at least akienda shule atakula, and in the process mtoto anapata education. So I pray that in one way or another, some way, somehow, you can try to see what I'm trying to paint. Thank you.
So, Bwana Black, is there an explanation that the government is not able to sustain the school feeding program because former president's office is getting allocation? Or rather, because the claims that are coming up is not that even the former president's office is getting allocation. Is being allocated for money, but that money is not being delivered. Like the 500 million that was in the last year's budget, it never arrived. The next one, instead of them getting 600 million, they got 28 million. So ignoring these and discussing our children must feed, I don't sioni vile ziko linked. Nisaidie kulink.
I mean, Bernard, at the end of the day, hawa ni wanasiasa.
No,
Uko na
okay,
familia yako.
okay, Black.
Ngoja maunga.
Kama mwananchi, to be honest, I personally as Black, I would rather struggle to fight for the right of the poor Kenyan whose child will be unable to go to school, one, because pesa ya capitation ni hivyo venye kumeenda, pesa ya school feeding program ni hivyo kwenye kumeenda, than I would spend that energy to defend the fact that whether Unye has not gotten his funds ama amepata ama hajapata. To be honest, that is my view.
Bernard,
I feel so much pain that
Bernard, my
wanafunzi
Okay, Black, just hold on. Yes, Maunga?
my reaction is actually to that question you've asked, and that is the fundamental question. It is actually an issue of embezzlement of funds. This money has been allocated and as such released by Treasury for the purpose of serving the office of the former president. Where is that money going? We're not talking about whether Uhuru gets it or not. Where has that money gone? Why isn't it available? Why was it in the budget and where has it gone? So nobody has said where that money has alternatively gone. All we are
nice.
seeing is that they're busy. They're busy renovating.
Nice. Maunga, now, when you take that trajectory, I am happy. Why? Because what you are saying is you're bringing the issue of accountability of that fund. But now when people take a different angle of talking about, oh, Uhuru, no. But with that angle which you've mentioned, the issue of accountability, I'm in for it and I support you fully and I agree that the issue of accountability. But mambo ya, oh, ule ni rais aliyeondoka sijui, it should not be.
Order, Brother Black. Injustice to one is injustice to all. Denying somebody for what is rightfully theirs is wrong constitutionally. Secondly, people budgeting and money released for that particular purpose, and that money does not get to the office, that is robbing the public. And then when the public is robbed, who bears the greatest burden is still the public, because this money is being spent in the name of Kenya. But it is not benefiting Kenyans, neither is it arriving where it's going. And so we need to raise red flags on both ends. Failure to feed the children is wrong. That should not be a matter of discussion. In fact, especially the governors and the legislatures from that part of the country, they should be up in arms on that matter. And if, like for example, I salute the Mombasa governor for paying school fees, secondary school for all secondary school wherever. Instead of the children waiting for bursary, he pays the money into the school, and then he only sensitizes people to go to school, stay in school, and make sure that they are attending classes. And then, of course, he has also a pilot program for wherever insurance. Watoto wote Mombasa wanaenda hospitali wanalipiwa na county government. Those are the things we want to see. But now, if we are not following this thing through or allowing somebody to steal the money, then be vocal in implicating, because what they are saying here is that Uhuru Kenyatta want to steal money from the government by offering his house as an office.
Black, can I just step in there? Black,
I'm glad, Bernard, you brought the issue of that property. Because number one,
Ngoja Black.
Lala ndo nisisahau hii point ambayo nasema.
Okay.
Naomba tu nisisahau. You know, I'm a firm believer of with every challenge, with every problem is an opportunity, right? Now, what's the opportunity in this? Opportunity in this is getting a solution, a permanent solution. Now, since tumeona hii imekuwa ni shida, hii mambo ya office ya permanent of a retired president, iwe ni kama imetufungua macho as people of Kenya and our representatives in government in ensuring that there is a permanent office space that is acquired for all retired presidents, and therefore it would always be clear that hata kabla rais retire, by the time ana retire anajua tu ofisi yake atakaokwenda itakuwa ni mahali fulani. Now, that in itself, moving forward, let's use this as an opportunity to establish that as a permanent solution, because I'm a firm believer of sorting out for solutions. That, in my view, will be the best solution.
Okay. As
So
asante, wacha hata mimi niingie kidogo. Black, there's a reason why we have 3 branches of government. Okay? Legislative branch is the one that makes the law and allocates these funds. The executive job is to implement that which has been established. Okay? So when money has been allocated for a particular purpose, and then somebody comes in the name of the executive that they can do anything they want, and they change, then that means they're doing the legislative role, which is not their responsibility. So we actually become chaotic as a nation, because the 3 branches of government are not working the way they were designed to work in the Constitution. So for anyone to support the idea that money can be transferred from one place to the other is ridiculous. It is actually the beginning of an anarchy, because those 3 branches have distinct roles. So if money has been allocated for a particular purpose, the executive has to do exactly what that has been assigned to, that money has been allocated for. Just like an architect, you come and make your drawing. If I'm an engineer, I'm a builder, I'm a contractor, I work as per the architect. Money has been assigned to the office of the former president. We have to do exactly what, you see, that money has been assigned by Congress or by the parliament for it to do. So this actually should be an argument for us, those of us who understand how government works. Okay, so even to hear that a president can decide what to do with money is to say that, you know, legislative branch is nothing. They don't exist. In other words, they don't have any power. President has the power. So the very idea that to tell us that you can let's talk about feeding is just on the same, you know, wavelength as office of the president or the vice president. I mean, the former president and any other officers. If money has been assigned, it's assigned. It has to do it. And that is what that man took an oath to do. Nitafanya nini? Nimeapishwa leo. And that day, nitafanya nini? I will uphold the Constitution. The oath was to the Constitution, not to his own ideas. So none of us should preach using another Bible, let's call it another constitution, rather than the Constitution of Kenya. That's the one that we govern ourselves with. You know, that's why we are even here, because you're talking about the Constitution of Kenya. So, Mr. Black, I'm actually surprised that you would downplay an important, you know, function of Parliament, and then you claim there's another one which is more important than the other. No, it doesn't work that way. It's the Constitution that all of us must live by and adhere to. Thank you.
Can I respond to that?
Thank you, Reverend Lala. Let's Black ngoja kwanza.
This right of response.
I know you have right of response and you've been using it. Just hold your horses, kidogo. There is a phrase Jesus uses. He says, you have neglected the weightier part of the law which you ought to do and not leaving the others undone. Meaning there is no part of the law that should be ignored or should be substituted for another. The feeding of the kids is a responsibility that needs to be taken care of, and so is honoring constitutional offices and, of course, making sure that those constitutional offices are run constitutionally. If we only got this country to work constitutionally, I don't think we'll be having even this conversation in the first place. Our main unmaking is this constant attempt to frustrate the constitution and impose somebody's will or somebody's ego on the country. And if we don't take our time, this ego thing is going to swallow this country and mess it completely. Now look at the kind of the bitter exchanges that are taking place between the lieutenants of Deputy President and the lieutenants of William Ruto. They are at each other's throat. All of it is because somebody said 1 shilling, 1 vote, 1 man. And then, of course, as time runs out, we have not said anything about Gachagua Ruto getting D in the opinion poll in their performance. Is it the deserved mark, or they should have gotten something else? Black, as you respond, I would want you to make whatever a comment on that. Don't forget, it's a few minutes to 3 a.m. East African time, so I should begin to be signing out. So, Mr. Black, respond quickly. Tumlete Eli, alafu tuanze kufungasha.
Okay, thank you. Asante. Now, I don't know if Reverend Lala is aware that as much as in the ideal world, what he said is what is supposed to be, but apparently and unfortunately, and it's not only started with this government, his money has been allocated, but most of the time, it either gets to where it's supposed to be late or doesn't get there at all. Ni mara ngapi tayari counties zimekuanga allocated funds? We already know that. How many times do those funds get to those counties late? Mambo ya kulipa fees ya watoto wa shule, tulikuwa first term yenye watu walikuwa wanaongelea, bado ya third term ilikuwa pesa haijafika. Mara ngapi? Yani I can count so many things. So it is not only, don't make it seem like it's only unique to Uhuru that pesa haijamfikia. Yes, they might say, I don't know if it's been a year or two, that's what they're saying. But when she was asked to bring up specific figures, anasema bado hatujahesabu. I mean, but tuko na makaratasi.
Bwana Black,
they don't make sense.
You are justifying something that is out of order.
I'm not justifying. You know what?
Our year starts in June and ends in June. There is no way you can allocate 500 million in 2020, 2023, 2024. Okay? And 2023, 2024 is ended. All right? And that money has not been released, or rather has not arrived. So when will it arrive? And how will it now move from this year's budget to the new year's budget? As what? As balance carried forward or debt carried forward?
What usually happens is inachukuliwa ni kama pesa ambayo haijakuwa absorbed, or unless there are bills that have not been paid, they can be paid as pending bills in the next. Now, in the other point that I wanted to say is hii shida imeanza before governments previously. Raila ameanza kulipwa nini pesa yake? If you all recall, let's be honest with each other. I think it's Uhuru that reinstated Raila's retirement package. Is it not? Correct me if I'm wrong, Bwana Bernard. Is it not?
Of course, Raila retired, and did
Prime
even
Minister.
Raila retire?
When did he start receiving his retirement package for the Prime Minister? That's a question direct to you.
There was a tug of war, and
Between who?
There was a tug of war even with the Kibaki government. There was a tug of war with
Exactly. So,
even
thank you.
the Kibaki government had even a tug of war with Moi when
Asante.
they said
Asante.
they will give allocation to whatever the pension or retirement benefits to Moi
You've
on
already answered.
condition
You
that he
already answered.
doesn't participate in politics. And Moi
You have
said
answered my
politics
question.
is his life, so he cannot make such a commitment. Hata kulikuwa na barua
Yeah.
alipelekewa sign akakataa.
Thank you very much. Asante. That is what my question. Umejibu vile nafaa. Now, my point is this. All previous governments have been setting the wrong precedents leading to this one, this incident of what Uhuru is going through. And that is the
The Uhuru one
unfortunate
is
thing.
unique. The Uhuru one is unique.
You know, it's
This
very
is not
unfortunate,
somebody
Bernard,
who
when you
is
want to
holding.
paint one good and the other one bad. Makosa ni makosa. Kutoka Kibaki mpaka sahi. When you hear me saying that none of them is good, these are one of the reasons why I say none of them is good.
Bwana Black, you're not
Na
judging this
umeenda
thing
tu
fairly.
pale ambapo nimekuuliza. So since nimemalizia na hilo, sitaki kuvuta zaidi.
Bwana Black, that's wrong
Wrong
judgment.
precedents were sent from
With you,
previous
no,
governments out to this.
your judgment is wrong. Let's go to before I bring Eli, let me clarify. The previous government had some conditions before they release the money or they make the payment. What we are having here is fraud, that money has been allocated by the parliament. The controller of budget looks for that money, he can't find. The office where the money went did not arrive, but money left treasury. So this is all, greed, and then of course, wherever diverting money that is meant. It's the same thing the controller of budget was talking about. His office is paid a salary of 3 people when she's the only one, and these other 3 people, we don't know who they are, but their money is budgeted and released every year. So it's just a matter of the Ruto style of operation, pretend to be taking care of the money, but taking care of the resources, but looting it in the process. And
Bernard, watu
this should
wamekuwa
not
wakora.
be made acceptable.
Bernard, watu wamekuwa wakora. Wote. Let's point out the wrong arrow. Wote.
Nani
State
amekuwa
agency.
mkora? Wacha hiyo
Wote.
kwanza, wewe uko
Kuanzia
na
Kibaki all the way Raila. Uhuru ameanza kutoa yake. Uhuru.
Wacha hiyo story yako. Hiyo story ya kutumia
Let's be straight.
everybody's corrupt so that you get people off the hook on their corruption that is obvious. That should not be the approach.
What about your contract?
Yeah, very good.
They say that that information has not been submitted for processing.
Please read the date on that list.
This is 25th of January 2023. Katole Metito, Controller, State House, restaffing to support the office of the third retired president. And I see here we would like to present the request of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta for the following individuals. So this is Ambassador Macharia Kamau, Kanzedena, George Kariuki, and the list goes on.
Did you just call my name?
Sorry, did I?
Did you just call my name?
I did.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just wanted to know that you called my name.
But you could have submitted, but perhaps it was not received.
Wow. Surprise, surprise. I guess just like all the letters we've been writing to State House and they've not received any communication back. We've not received any responses. Because there are many letters that we've written and we've not received any responses.
I'm curious.
Yes.
2 years,
Yes.
you have not been remunerated.
Yes.
Why stay in the role?
I think there are things that in life, Olive, as a person, you must decide what you stand for. When I was asked to come and join the team, my boss, that was my former boss, of course, I joined the team. Somewhere along the way, things were not working out. So what is the best choice to do in terms of character? Jump off the ship or sail with the ship and sail through the storm? I chose to sail through the storms.
All right, so how did you survive?
That's the good thing about savings. And I would like to urge every Kenyan, please save for a rainy day, because that's when I understood the meaning of savings. And I thank God for SACCOs and for all the opportunities to save. Please save. Days like this do come.
All right, thank you very much.
Muko tayari kufanya kazi? Tulieni, msiwe na wasiwasi. Hata MCA ako na haki ya kuwa kwa hii mkutano, si ndio? Na wale wanamtuma mtulie, Mheshimiwa Mwaura ako na haki ya kuwa hapa. Si hata yeye amechaguliwa? Si amechaguliwa pia? Vile Kawanjiku amechaguliwa? Lakini asituletee fujo kwa mkutano hapa. Hata kama ametumwa na naibu wa rais ama ametumwa na Wamatangi, asilete fujo kwa mkutano wa amani. Na niliwaambia jana nikiwa huko Laikipia, tunajua ile mipango inapangwa hapa Mlima Kenya ya kuhakikisha hawa wabunge hawatekelezi kazi yao. Nataka niseme, sio naibu wa rais, sio governor, sio MCA, sio wewe ukiwa kijana unayetumika utasimamisha kazi ya maendeleo ya watu wa Kiambaa. Wanataka fujo, tuwaambie watafute kazi huko Haiti, huko ndio watu wa fujo wako. Waende wakapigane fujo huko. Sisi kama viongozi wa UDA, sisi kazi yetu ni kuzingatia yale mambo tuliambia watu wa Kiambaa na wa Kiambu tutawafanyia.
Bwana Eli, how are you?
I'm good. So
Karibu.
I'm responding from my kitchen space today, and I've been following Maunga some very interesting feedback, except for the biblical messages, which makes me a minority because yourself, Bernard, and Lala are all strong proponents of the biblical message, of which me I can't produce the same because I don't even want to subscribe myself as an atheist, but I don't believe in anything that I don't know of. But it's just the reason why I said this is because Maunga's comments towards the end was about God, and we know that these people touted themselves into power by saying that they were going to clean State House from the dirt that it was through God and messages like that. But anyway, my point is, and I'm enjoying this conversation, my point is, whatever is happening to Uhuru Kenyatta, I don't really care about, okay? This is a family that is a multi-billion dollar worth, and we're here seated thinking about how the Constitution protects a former president at the expense of anything else that we know that is happening to Kenyans, you know? So we're actually saying that we're here to protect the rights of Uhuru Kenyatta. I watched that interview. Candid, she's very eloquent. I think she's the person who is, I think, was in one of those media stations. She's very eloquent, and she's really fighting for Uhuru Kenyatta. I watched that interview, but it just defeats the purpose of our conversations here when we think that whatever is happening to Uhuru Kenyatta is so important. Is so important that we must discuss it because we think that he's going through some persecution. Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto have known each other for a very long time. I mean, you can stretch it all the way to 2001, 2002. And their love and hate relationship is nothing to do with us. I don't want to sound dismissive or negative about this, but I just think that we're very polite in our politics about how we see the things that is happening in our country and damaging our people. I mean, I can just divert this conversation into just one thing. For example, in the Nyanza place that I come from, Homa Bay County, we recently had the army, the Kenya Defense Forces, restructuring the environment around Lake Victoria in Homa Bay. Okay, so they're doing a good job. They've done pavimentization of the area around the lake shore, and this has had a massive effect on the human-animal environment, because basically the hippos that used to be lurking about the lakeshore and the crocodiles, they are now battling against the human encroachment into these areas. So now you will not see hippos, coming at the lakeshore in their natural state. It's not going to happen. And everyone claps about Gladys Wanga doing a brilliant job. You think about planning. What is going wrong in our in our counties that should be made better? My problem is right now about what our counties are doing or not doing. I really personally, and I'm sorry about this, but personally, I don't care about the national debate. It makes nothing to me, but that's just my personal bias, because I don't see myself anywhere near discussing whether Uhuru Kenyatta has 20 vehicles or one car. I don't care. These people are together. They play around with our minds, and we think that they're split. Even this regarding Gachagua and Ruto thing, it's all the whole thing is a nonsense, But I laugh about, I laugh at it because I know that it's a comedy show, and there's nothing else that is, helpful to Kenyans in terms of what's going on between those two parties. The people who claim that they're leading the country. My concern when I'm ranting about this is really about the counties. What is it that the counties can offer? And I'm not even thinking about the governors. I'm thinking about what is it that we can do to interpret the 2010 Constitution. I'm actually, if you have a look here, and this is not an advert, Bernard. This is omena fish. Yeah, I bought this in March when I was back home in March. I brought a couple of them. This is fried, ready to eat snack omena. You just go to work, you eat a couple of them, and it smells, and the Wazungus don't like the smell of it, and I enjoy it. Now I'm thinking about things like this, and that's enough for me in terms of what is happening in our country. And the danger of, to me, what is happening in our country is the biggest complaint I have right now is this taxation that has been imposed on Kenyans by the IMF, World Bank, and the Western government, because those are the originators of what policy that we have in Kenya at the moment. And they're trying to make everything to look universal, how they do their things, and they want us to copy the same. And now they're trying to tell us that we are nearly as good as them. So they're saying that we now have an affiliation with the NATO countries and stuff like that, and we are happy clapping. My main interest is what is it that we are doing, and this is just an example. This could be something else in Luya land, in Masai land, in different parts of Kenya. There's a product. In course, they'll have cashew nuts and things like that. What is happening about that? And this is my main interest in what I see that we should improve in our economy. all this, and by the way, all due respect, it's not as if I'm slugging anyone who is talking about Ruto's way of mistreating Uhuru Kenyatta or Siji, Ruto-Gachagua and his helicopters, Siji, politicians are not allowed to use Air Force jets and all this. I'm not discounting this. I'm just saying, for me, that's not my position. I think that there are many, many interesting issues that is affecting our people that should be brought into the debate. But I do appreciate where we're coming from or what is being discussed here. That's fine, but that's the way I feel at the moment. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Reverend Lala.
And can I just add something? I can't hear Reverend Lala, but yesterday.
Lala is in mute.
Hello,
Yeah,
Haley.
I'm just no 2 seconds, Lala. I
Yeah.
think yesterday or the day before, you opined that I should not bash this thing about kingpins. I remember that. I still have it in my head. You spoke about it the other day, but you walked out, and I think at some point we didn't meet in here. But I remember you wanted to discuss that. Thank you.
Okay. I probably can't go back and remember exactly what I said, but I appreciate you, talking about the counties. And I think it's where the focus should be in terms of what we can do to those county of ours so that they can be what they envision to be. But on the other hand, the counties are just as strong as the mother, which is really the nation. If taxes are way up, if omenas, a small person cannot go in there and get omena, and if they do, they can't take to the market. As you come from Homa Bay, and you know very well who controls even that fish industry. It's not us, and from Homa Bay, and part of it is because of some of these challenges that we are trying to address here. Because I think I stated yesterday that most business schools and colleges and others are more into process leadership, looking at each segment. So if the feet is hurting, and just like the Bible, the whole body will hurt. Okay. I know you don't want to refer to the Bible, but the process leadership is looks at the whole thing. So every part is important. So if you want Homa Bay to be strong, we need a strong Western Kenya, Northern Kenya, and others, because that's the market. That is part and parcel of what Kenya is. So in other words, we cannot just focus on one area and forget the other, because the other will come to impact us. And that's why I think a forum like this is important for us, first to hear what you talked about the counties, which is really good, and also for us to extend that to all parts of Kenya. And that way we can have the whole thing healthy. You are in the West because there are laws there. You're able to drive, knowing somebody gonna stop at the stop sign, and you can reach your destination. Things are working well because they have laws and the Constitution that all of us must adhere to. And that also include, if we come to Kenya, Uhuru versus Ruto. I think this forum, we are looking at the issues beyond just those two personalities. We're looking at the Constitution. If they are fighting their fight that's perfectly fine. But if it is impacting on the Constitution, disobedience to it, then it's our fight. Okay? If we say that Uhuru should be paid this, then he must be paid. The executive executes the plan that has really been laid down. And if they don't do it, they are in contravening the law. And therefore, they need to account for it. And so Ruto cannot do anything he wants to do because he is the CEO. He's not. He's the president, okay, executive, but the arrangement is that he is one man up there, but parliament is a group of them. So the power of parliament is the same as the power of the president and the same as the executive, only that the president is what? Is one. Yet Congress acts as a team. I mean, not Congress, but Parliament acts as a team, which is legislative, and then the judiciary, of course, Supreme Court and others. So there's checks and balances. But what Ruto is doing now is that is actually is not following that strict law as required by the Constitution. Is doing its own thing. And that's why it is important for us to talk about it. If, in fact, the Uhuru-Ruto issue is even better because they are high profile, so we can easily see other issues that are there. On the other hand, I think what you stated about the counties, I think we must engage in the counties and we must work hard to make sure they're promoted. The army, I think, they're doing a good job. They started doing that job during Uhuru's time, and they're still doing some good work there. And we thank God for what they are doing to the lake, because they want to make it cleaner, which is the lifeline for that region, and that should not stop. But we shouldn't be doing it at the expense of somebody else. I think we need to do that broader look at.
Please, I want order. Please, I want us to mind time. We need to close. So
okay,
very short question.
Okay.
Very short question, and this question is, I'm really, Bernard, you're doing a sterling job, for you to sit there, at this late hours, 2 hours ahead of us. That's, I don't know how many hours for Lala, but 2 hours ahead of us here in the UK.
Well, in the UK, in America.
Yeah. So, but what I was trying to say is this situation, for example, in Homa Bay County, which I can see where Gladys Wanga is at. I can see where she's coming from, but the planning of our communities, the planning of our towns, rural areas, and so on, or the urban centers, it's not sufficient, because if you look at what impact the thing she has done in Homa Bay is going to have, say, in the next 5-10 years, and the agenda is to promote tourism in Nyanza more than in the Coast Province. But then these animals now, these crocodiles and hippos are, they're battling to survive, because there is this now open thing where human beings have now taken over the lakeshore. It's a very difficult situation, and no one is addressing it. People are afraid of addressing it. That construction site where the new PA in Homa Bay is owned by the Ministry of Defense. And when you go there, you cannot even walk into that area, because the Ministry of Defense, the KDF and all that, have taken over the stretch of that perimeter land. It's ridiculous. But I can see her agenda, or whatever Uhuru and then the next, people in leadership have done there. But it's a very serious situation where they've not looked this is where I'm coming from, that yes, we should contribute towards changing our counties, but then the impact is very important to look at as well.
Eli, I think you and I need to talk, because I have a lot of interest in that particular area. I think I'm one of the first people that I used several universities here, put a team together to study the situation, and Mwanga is following it very strictly. Yes, we've not thought about how those animals can be protected, but what we do know is that the pollution had come to a level where it was threatening the marine life and people's lives there. So cleaning it, I think, is a first step. And I happen to come from the Great Lakes in North America, and we are trying to use connections so that they can be able to help us the way they did clean the Great Lakes. There's a time it was so bad. In Cleveland, where I am, the river caught fire. And what they did here, I think we can also borrow it, can be able to help us down there. And so far, I think they're trying their level best. And Gladys is very responsive to people giving those ideas. So you and I need to talk about that, because something we got to, yes, open it up for development, at the same time protect the animals that are there. But so far, cleaning the lake, I think, is a priority, because that's what will ensure those peoples, have a future, or those crocodiles. Yes.
Okay, I'll share my number.
So naomba hivi tafadhali, there's
number. Thank you.
I think I have Eli's number. If I don't, all of you have my number. So I will link the two of you, and then of course you will give us feedback on how far you've gone. That is something that is worth us looking at, and of course that is the future of our country. The aspect of playing politics and corruption with everything needs to be kind of put aside. We can
And
just
by
run
the
this country cleanly without
way,
having
Wanga is a
ulterior
perfect
motives.
architect of what you're saying, Bernard.
Mm.
Wanga is a perfect candidate of what you're saying when it comes to politics and fraud and everything else. For me, I don't celebrate her like people do. Yeah, I critically look at her. By the time Melly is talking about the fact that there's human animal wildlife conflict in an area that is now being guarded, and as such it's been weaved off, that is fraud still. Wanga is particularly fraudulent. So for me, all this celebration that you usually guys give about her, it's just a smoke screen for me. What I wanted to say about this entire topic, even in closing, because I'm just about to leave. Ruto has stolen Uhuru's money. Let it be made clear that money was released for Uhuru's office, that is going to pay the staff and it's supposed to enable the running of that office. It's supposed to pay the staff who are in that office. Those are Kenyans. Ruto has stolen that money in the region of $500 million. He should tell people where that money is, period. As for Kinawanga, she dalliances. She's normally a perfect case of those lukewarm people who are usually puked out by even God. She never knows when to be cold or hot. In terms of principle, she's lacking in it. So in as far as whatever she's doing that you guys are seeing, for me, I really don't sometimes care. I care about personality and the things that I can hand over to the next generation. And one of those things will be values that are consistent and like value based, which clearly she lacks. So naturally, right now as we speak, we're talking about thieves, and Kenya is led by thieves. A bunch of them, by the way, a pack of them. Nearly the whole country is led by them. So what we can do for Kenya is just an overhaul. Martha Karua is my only bet of coming to panel beat this country and get this country back to where it is, by the way, because she didn't have any honchos. If you realize, she's the only one who doesn't have any scandals. She's the one person who's going to tie people by their balls and hang them on trees, and as such be a lesson to everybody else as is necessary. So for me, that is where we need to go as Kenya. All this nonsensical lulabalu wish-washers over here, I do not particularly have any time for them. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Maunga. We can't open that. It will open another show. Pacho amekuja na amejificha. Naomba hivi. Naomba hivi. Mimi masaa yangu imeenda na leo sina assistant. Stony PK sijamuona. Inaonekana amenaswa. And then of course the other guys are not here. So I wouldn't want to stretch that further, but we can revisit. We can always revisit.
Bernard,
Black.
connect me with
Ngoja Eli.
Lala
Ngoja
and
Eli.
Maunga as well. Thank you.
Oh, you want their contacts? Yes, utaniongelesha vizuri. Let me talk to you like a Kenyan. Utaniongelesha vizuri. Alafu nitakutengenezea hizo numbers, eh? Now, before I bring Pacho, I just wanted to respond to Black because Black wants to fight for the voiceless children, of which is it's necessary and of course praiseworthy. But I got this poem by Martin Yomola that I want to remind him. First, they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I need not to break that down. It is there, well spelled out. We can draw whatever lesson we need. Pacho, vipi?
Mambo poa.
Haya, karibu
Nimekugotea
Kenya.
sana. Nimekugotea hapo
Asante.
sana. Nimesikia watu wanaongea hapa, lakini Kenya tuko na shida moja hapa. And then hapa lazima tuongee in deep, tuambie watu. When we talk, we must put bearing with the future. Uhuru kunyanyasa, Ruto kunyanyasa Uhuru. What do you think will happen when somebody will come sasa in 2027 or 2032 after Uhuru? Now mtu mwenye anaenda kumnyanyasa hivyo atakubali kutoka kwa power? Kuna story mingi tumebonga juu tunawachanga hivyo hanging. Then we have to put future in our mind. Sasa mwenye ataingia akianza kufanyia Ruto hivyo, yeye atafikiria nini? This is why we have problem in Kenya. The other day we were talking about 1 shilling 1 vote. Kwa ile BBI. The same people who were shutting it down now are coming out with it. Meaning wali shut down bila kuangalia future, but this is where their future was. So we have to talk like tunaangalia mbele. Huyo Black mwenye anaongea, mwambie saizi ni Ruto, ni Uhuru. Next itakuwa ni Ruto. Do you know what happened to that president from Burundi? When he left power, he ended up dying. I think alikufa na 2 months ama. He could not leave because mwenye wanakuja nyuma kuna past amekanyaga watu wengi hapo nyuma. So when we talk about things like these, tuangalie future. Kuna watu wa kuharibu and then they know they will go nowhere, unaona? Ama amefika time anajua atakufa. Ataacha hapa nyuma na kina nani nini na hii shida. That's why we have been having a lot of reports. Ndungu report nini, but we can't implement them because hatukuangalia future when these things were happening. So you can't even punish anybody. So when we talk Kenyans, let's put our future in our bearing. Otherwise, mtu atatolewa, atashindwa kura na atakataa kutoka. Aseme mimi sitoki. Juu ya nini? Anaogopa. That's how Uganda is built na huo mtu moja. Anaogopa mazee, anasema tu anaweza acha, lakini what did this guy say? Sasa hilo Uhuru alitaka kuacha power in 2017. Alisema karibu mzabe coffee. Then what is he doing now? It's like ni kama ana revenge. Then everybody will revenge. So it's like we are setting a culture yenye itakuja itukabe. So we should be speaking. Unajua nimesikia watu wengi wakiongea Kenya. Matime nafikirianga mimi ndio stupid. Do I hear them but I can't connect what they're saying. Unaangalia mtu unasema kweli. Kama huyu jamaa ametoka hapo amesema anataka omena ifike Amerika, itafikaje bila kupitia hiyo airport leaking yenye haina barabara? He has to connect it. Hiyo itafika huko when the national government is working. So tukikuja, I don't know whether we are stretching the topic so much yenye inaenda kila mahali. Sijui kama mimi ndio sielewi vizuri, but when we would have been speaking truth to one another, teaching one another, the reason why we have katiba ni mwongozo. It's to guide you. It's not you wewe ni hiyo katiba ndio ufuate. So how can somebody just come in na is changing everything? Anaondoa watu. Hii shida yao ya kingpin sui na Gachagua na nini. I hear people saying like urongo ya watu ndio inawaumiza. They talk the other day walikuwa wanaongea 2013 tyranny of numbers. Na hii tyranny numbers ndio inazaa hii one man, one shilling, one vote. And then the people who are being told this to are not even listening, looking into it deeply. Why did they talk of tyranny of numbers? Ukishaambia Mkikuyu you are many, then wanarudi wanaanza kulala njaa kwa nyumba na wanaona wako wengi, they should be in government. What do you think they will do? The other day walilipa nini basari ilipeanwa pale nini Ruiru, people died, they were stampede. Just basari wanapata 2,000 each. So hizi vitu zinaudhi. So when we talk about them, we need to sober up and see things clearly as they are. Tuangalie future itakuwa namna gani. Hii yetu sisi tumeona, but watoto wetu watapata nini? Should we forge everything? Maze Bernard, maze tumeiba kila kitu. Tumeiba mtihani, tumeiba kila kitu. Mpaka tuoni sasa hizi niliona mtu akisema na nini engineer Sudi. So when things like this are happening, what are we giving back to the society? How are we going? Unaambia mtoto yako nini? They talk of one man, one shilling, one vote. Something wefaa waelewe haraka. Unasikia bado mtu anasema ati Wakikuyu watapata pesa nini. It's not that. We need hiyo inchi. Venye hiyo conversation imeanzia huko. But we need to spread it. Kila mtu apate share properly. What do you do ukijenga barabara mahali hakuna watu venye Moi? Kuna barabara zingine zili nini? Walianika mahindi because there were no cars going through that route. Moi did it. Alikuwa naona kila kitu iende kwao. Na watu wamerudi na hiyo plan. So when we talk the topic, tuangalie hizi topic deeply. Kama mtu hajasoma topic ajue ni nini naongelewa kwa studio, anyamaze asikie wengine waki deliberate, waangalie venye itakuwa. Otherwise bena inabidi tukue serious maze. Mimi naurumia mpaka church imekuwa kitu ingine. Wachawi wamerudi kanisani. Then we call it a church. Kama hiyo ya juzi, hiyo ni church ya waganga. I don't think they are preachers. Yaani wale watu walivanga manguo zile za mambuzi ndio wamerudi kanisani wanahubiri. What are they preaching? Hatred, kuchukiana. Amesimama kwa pulpit anasema sisi kama watu wa Mount Kenya hatutakuwa. Sasa Yesu wako wapi? Ama huyu Yesu pia alitoroka akasema watu are too bad, let me stay away from them. And they quote him. Mnazaudi hata Mungu aseme mazao wacha watu wakumbane na hii mashaitani yao. Because they are not even serious people. Even if you look, if it's church, tuanze na kanisa, tukataze kanisa. Hey, if it's not a church, what iandikwe club. Kama ni group of wizard ama wachawi, indikwe ni hivyo. It's saddening ukiambia mtu ati hao watu walikuwa kanisani. Then kanisani imekuwa politics. Hatred yenye inatoka kwa mdomo wao watu. Hakuna hata mtu mmoja unasikia akisifu Yesu hapo. So it's so sad anyway. Thank you. Nilikuwa nasikia mnatoka. I can talk na si poa.
Kwa ukikuja mapema ndio wewe ndio ongee, lakini point imefika. Nashukuru sana and very very pertinent points there. That is one place I was talking about. We are running away from when something is primary and foundational. we don't stress it as being foundation. We think it's just normal politics. And that's why I want to reduce something like this into the hatred between Uhuru and Ruto. But Ruto is violating the constitution. Ruto is frustrating the constitution and looting, public funds shamelessly. Okay, how do you allocate 500,000 to an office? That money is dispatched and doesn't arrive, and then you don't want to respond to the letters officially. The former president's office write to you, or write to State House, and State House replies through Maura's mouth. How does that work? Which government works like that? And so the kind of strategy that William Ruto is deploying for this country, it's just to, create an atmosphere for looting and, of course, replacing sense with foolishness. And for that to stop, we need to raise our voices and speak loudly against the messes and the excesses that are arising. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we must call it a day. Unfortunately, because I sina mtu wa kuendeleza, but my 3 hours have been fruitful, I believe. Let's continue with the conversation in the niwapatie dakika moja moja kama una la kusema Maunga, then Lala, then we get out of here.
Sasa I wanted to say something. Leo hii panel imeconfirm kitu moja mtu aliwahi sema. If you realize leo tumekuwa Nyanza sana. River Lake Nilotes, Luo Nyanza. So someone once said that Luos live like there's no tomorrow. And then Kikuyus live like they'll never die. So there's usually supposed to be a balance. So normally it is said that when those two come into play and they forge an alliance, they're likely to sustain more, because then a Kikuyu will be working as though they'll never die, therefore they'll be working to a mass. A Luo will live like there's no tomorrow, so they'll give a strategy of how to plan. So Eli, right now, when he came to speak, he just alluded to that fact that, we are futuristic. A Luo lives knowing that my tomorrow is not assured. So let today count. And most importantly, let me try and make a mark. And that is where we are. At the risk of sounding tribal, of course, kwa comments akina Mugambi watasema na kina Ann watasema vile kabisa, mi nakuanga by the name Jaluo, nakuanga Achieng. The names Achieng means sunshine. I shine at all times, be dark or night. So muniite vile mtaniita. But the truth is, let Kenyans embrace diversity. Let us move. But in knowing that the future is all we are working towards is very, very important. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Clear enough, and let's speak that and understand. Appreciating our differences is part and parcel of our growth. And God did not create us the same because each one of us carried something small from God to bring to the surface earth. And then, of course, when we bring what everybody brought, that's the only time we have the full loaf. But we have a great future in this country if you can only stand up and shout down the evils thereof. Reverend Lala, I'll give you the last word and help me get out of here. Thank you, those who are responding to our support system. Please tuendelee hivyo hivyo. Na Penny Nyagaga, mi nataka ukuwe member wa Sound Candid Talk. Maswala we kuja hapa na kuhepa staki. I want you to register as a member. Enda kwa link, nataka kuona ukuwe member wa Sound Candid Talk. Reverend Lala, take it.
Oh, asante Bernard. I think Eli has gone. Isiko Eli, Britain, UK. Eli, I think, was concerned about the Christian or faith tendencies, and I think he described himself as agnostic or atheist, whatever. But that's your right. All of us have that right to have that our own beliefs. But I just want to suggest to my brother that I think our conviction, our faith, actually helps us to understand the world and process the world. better, because we take our reference from Christ. And Christ is a character. If you look at him, you probe his life, you probe his story, where it's coming from, and where he is now. I think you and I will be challenged to live better lives. And so my prayer is that all of us will look beyond religion and look at the person of Christ. And the person of Christ allow us to debate and see things in a way they should be seen. And I think it helps us understand where we are, because many of us are angry at the church, what leaders have done. And so we think of Christianity in terms of those people that have disappointed us. And that's the mistake that we are making, because we are not really talking about the person of Christ. So if we talk about the person of Christ, I think the world will be better. So all of us can relate to him. And I think we can read, understand what he came to do, whether we are Christian or non-Christians. But I think the appeal that he makes will make a lot of sense to all of us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bernard, and may God bless.
Amen. Thank you so much, Reverend Lala. Thank you, Maunga. Thank you, Black. Thank you, Eli. Thank you, everyone that was part and parcel of this great conversation. Thank you, the guys on the comment section. Rama Sanu, asante sana. Penny Nyagaga, of course, Black yuko hapo. Favor, asanteni tu sana. George Mugambi, umekuja kuchelewa leo, lakini karibu, asante. Tunang'atuka, lakini tunaomba hata kama tumefunga masuala ya mazungumzo yaendelee. Push hiyo video kwa watu wengi tu, ili wengi wakajifunze kwa masuala ambayo tunayozungumzia. The other things is that we must all together focus on building a better Kenya, fighting for a better Kenya. Let's not compromise when it comes to what we must get as a people. Thank you so much. Let's do this again in the next program. God bless you.
Kutoka macheo hadi machweo, tunakupakulia yanayokuhusu kwenye vipindi vyetu.
When the issue of Eurobond was floated, we objected to it, but no one listened. Now we are here again.
Ile mapato ya serikali haijaonyeshwa pale, imefichwa. Ndio tusijue tunachanga shilingi ngapi, ama tunatarajia kuchanga shilingi ngapi kulingana na mikakati na mpangilio ya serikali.
Budgeting process takes care of revenue versus expenditure. Why are we dwelling so much on expenditure and no disclosures are being made on revenue?
Daily Bite, one-on-one show. In the news headlines, kisha open forum political show. Sound Candid talk, indeed. ETC seeing live for masses.